Culture Junkies, we're back with another great episode of Culture Junkies Live, episode 212. Today we're going to be talking about the Clone Wars. It ended last week, but we're going to kind of just do a retrospective of of um, of the entire show, the beginning, the middle, the end. I know. Sorry about that. Getting a little feedback in the ears because the video is playing on the screen over there. Um, but to the right of me is Mr. GQ, and across from me is the Great Datakuji, and in remote is Fallen Marvel. What's up, guys?
What is up, family? Hope everybody is doing good out there in Junkie Land. We get
Hmm.
ready to get in to chop it up about some really cool stuff this week.
Let's do this.
Yeah. Let's see. Uh, we're also going to talk about Justice League Dark, which was, I guess, for laymen, for a lot of laymen, I guess DC's answer to Infinity War and Endgame rolled up in one. Did everybody get to see that? I got to see it. I think you got to see it.
Yeah, I watched it, but
And
I
Fallen Marvel, you
watched
saw
it.
it too,
I
right?
don't
Yeah.
get the
So
in-game
Yes, I
thing.
did.
I don't get what
you don't get
Yes,
the
I
end game
did.
thing. We'll,
No.
we'll talk about it later. But first, let's run the gamut.
Turn your phone off.
Run the gamut. Run the gamut.
900 horses of Detroit muscle.
GQ, what you got?
Run the gamut. Run the gamut. Starting off this time around, we've got a really messed up story with our Robert Pattinson. Apparently, he's decided because of coronavirus and also his feelings about actors getting in shape for roles, he's not going to work out for his Batman role. Now, I don't know whether or not he's saying he's not going to work out during the virus thing because he wants to keep his trainer safe or whatever. But he said that it sets a bad precedent. And I'm like,
What?
Like, dude, the precedent's already been set. We've had Christian Bale. We've had Robert Downey Jr. We've had Chris
Ben
Hemsworth.
Affleck.
We've had Ben Affleck. We've had Chris Pratt. People that do these superhero roles get in shape because that's how these characters are portrayed, that they are in shape characters. So Batman among them is the chief in shape character of all time because he is peak human fitness. That's his
Yep.
whole thing. He's super intelligent and he is super duper in shape. That's Batman's two biggest defining things about him, besides the fact that he's a damn awesome ninja. But Dido, what say you, sir?
I typically don't pay attention to what actors have to say about whatever's going on in their personal lives because I don't care. I mean, it's not that I would say I'm heartless to what's going on in the Everybody has their opinion. Do whatever the hell you want. I don't care. But when you get in front of that camera, you're supposed to do your job. And hopefully you do your job well. And I can't really say much about that. Just do your freaking job. As soon as you get there, do your job.
No.
Because that's the whole thing about acting.
Right.
You're supposed to be doing a job. You know?
Well, first of all, we didn't do this, and I meant to say this. I don't know if he's watching yet, but I want to give a special shout out to Derek Favors.
Look, you messing up the dude's name already. Damon Favors.
Damon Favors. Sorry. A new watcher of the show. We want to welcome you. Thank you for joining YouTube. Just so you can watch the
Congratulations
show.
on that new YouTube account for
Yes.
watching
Just for
All
watching
right.
the show.
Appreciate you,
dude,
Damon.
make sure you absolutely consume a whole bunch of our content before you go out in the world. And in fact, actually, don't even go out in the world and consume ours. Just consume ours.
Just hit the subscribe button.
Yeah,
You'll
just hit
get
the subscribe
notifications when we put up new stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
So anyway,
appreciate you. What's up also to King Takeem over there
and DBL King.
and DBL King. Oh,
Yeah.
how you doing? How you doing? I believe
Now,
Sharita
DBL King
Jackson.
brought up something, right? He said Batman. Oh no, it was Tony Young that said Batman Light, but even Kumail Nanjiani got in shape for Eternals. I mean, I don't think he got in shape necessarily for Eternals. He just wanted to do it, and he does look fantastic. But like you said, precedent has been set. Like, come on, dude.
You telling me he's not
Right.
working out at all? He said during this COVID thing, you tell me he's not working out
Again,
before this
he might
whole thing was going on?
he may be talking about just the COVID thing, but the later part of the interview, he said that he doesn't really truly plan on doing much bulking up or working out because it sets a
Man.
bad precedent. I'm like, dude, a bad precedent. This ain't Adam West 60 years ago. This sure as hell ain't Michael
Yeah.
Keaton from the 80s.
Yeah.
The precedent of you need to be in shape to play these characters was set the second Wesley stepped on the scene as Blade.
As Blade. Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
dude,
It's-
people get in shape. Even back when Affleck played Daredevil, he was still in decent
He's
shape.
still in decent shape.
So unless you're playing Plastic Man and everything about you is CGI,
Now watch. This will be the first. This will be the first Batman that does not have a shirtless scene. Watch.
I guess so. But
Watch.
to me, it's
the
like
most-
that's.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Fallen. Go ahead.
And it'd be the most like in okay shape Batman we've had since Adam West, essentially. And I find it interesting. It's like I wanted to kind of get what he was saying, but I find it interesting how he was going back to how actors did this, that, and the third back in the 60s and 70s. Well, we're not in the 60s and 70s anymore.
Exactly.
The thing is, if you're playing a character like that's so polarizing, like Batman, and we know for him to be a certain caliber of physique, it's like you have to at least shoot for something close to it. Even if you can't bulk up, at least do something where you know whatever. But I don't know, maybe it's just like that's just his whole thing to where it's like, well, I don't feel like I should have to. So apparently this movie is really going to have to be very convincing with the writing and stunt work, I guess.
We will see. Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff they used to do back in the '60s that they don't do no more. They used to turn fire hoses on black people. They don't do that no more.
All I gotta say is like so many
mean-
people. I think they just put too much. They put too much. Put these movies on a pedestal a little bit too much, in my honest opinion. Because like it's to me, it's just starting to sound a little bit about like the Michael Keaton thing. And now, granted, I was only 9 years old when that Michael Keaton, but I do still remember people saying that Michael Keaton's gonna be a bad Batman. Blah 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 blah. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not even saying that he's going to be a bad Batman. I'm just saying what he said.
Hey.
He never should have said it.
maybe he shouldn't have said it, but that's why I said I don't care what he says. When you step in front of that camera, you get to work. You convince me that you're Batman or Bruce Wayne. You put in that, make me think that this movie is worth watching or is good, because that's what I'm judging you on. I don't give a shit what you say in your personal life. As long as it's not talking about people who have melanin or less melanin, it's not talking about people who, you know, like certain other people. As long as it's not that bullshit coming out of your mouth, I really don't have anything. Because usually not working out on a movie. Oh, okay, whatever. Dude, that's like, well, I'm doing this movie and all I'm going to eat is apricots. Okay, eat your fucking apricots. I don't give a shit. I don't like apricots, but does that matter? You know?
Right.
Now the only thing I will add to that is that I remember they were saying like way back when they were talking to Hugh Jackman about it, and of course we know how phenomenal shape he got in for the role, but there have been times where he said that like he's gotten tired of those diets for that role.
And that's
So-
and that's fine.
And he
but-
wasn't like that the first movie either.
Of course not. But at the
Yeah.
same time, he realized after, you know, a little bit of self-reflection of like, if I'm going to play this character, I need to at least do the character some justice. And he put the work in. So
He did.
me, the precedent should be if you're going to do the character and put the work in and do a damn good job playing him, then you deserve to be that character. But if you have already got a whole bunch of stuff stacked up against you when you first get cast, and then on top of that, you're going to say, oh, I don't need to work out, though. I ain't about to work out. That makes you look extra bad. So, again, who knows? He might actually, you know, hit the gym and do some stuff. We will see. But I'm going to turn it over to Kenshiro because he had something really interesting to talk about.
So yeah, today
All right.
for me, what I wanted to bring up was, okay, everybody's been dying to see anything from the PS5. So today, Unreal, Epic Games, kind of unveiled the Unreal 5 engine, and they demoed it on, you know, the PS5. And a lot of people were really blown away by it. I certainly was, because if you look at this thing, right, it's rendering billions upon billions of triangles and polygons. And what a lot of people don't get about the way games are made is that sometimes there's an actual physical limit on the amount of polygons that are triangles that you can draw. So it kind of limits your ability to create really photorealistic pictures. PS5, they've done away with that. Like you can literally create however many you want. And if you look at this thing, I think it's a clip of about 2 minutes. It's about 2 minutes
Yeah,
long.
about two and a half.
Yeah,
or
about
so,
two and a half minutes, right? So if you were to watch this thing and you see the visuals that you can see, the way the light is reflecting off of surfaces, you know, the dynamic lighting, the structure or the look and feel of the rocky terrain and the statues, it looked like what it was some statues from maybe feudal China or something like that. But it was absolutely fantastic. Like you look at it, it's almost looking like you're looking like at a real picture. Obviously, the character that was navigating the terrain was obviously not a real human looking person, but the terrain that she was in was absolutely fantastic. So did you guys get to see
Wasn't that just a Tomb Raider thing?
it? No, I don't think it. No, I don't think it was Tomb Raider. It was Tomb Raider
No,
isk, but it wasn't Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was very reminiscent of Tomb Raider when I was looking at it, but overall, like what I was finding interesting about it was the fact that it was it definitely was supposed to be utilizing the all the hardware in the console like straight up. So if it is true that it's running this way, and granted, like we've seen other tech demos with them supposedly like running Spider-Man PS4 at like full power, and it was like literally like no loading. Um, it shows a lot of promise. Now there are a lot of people that's not trusting it so far because again, I guess because of how tech demos have sort of done a bait and switch in the past.
Yeah, you
even
remember
though
that PlayStation
even
3 tech
though
demo?
yeah, even though
What,
I
the one with
like,
the bathtub?
I think like I think like a lot of it, like especially like the last few years, I think it's been more so on the uh, what is it? Probably more so like on the developers rather than uh like the flagship companies themselves.
I
But
don't know, man. What was that? Killzone?
maybe I
It was
don't
a
know.
Killzone demo.
Yeah,
It was a
Killzone
Killzone demo.
It
Yeah.
was a
PlayStation
Killzone
3.
demo. It was
Yeah.
Right.
PS3, and they was like, yes, because
See,
basically it looked like
that
what
was a
is-
rough generation in general, though. So
No, we understand
But-
that, but the thing
yeah.
is that sets the problem of when your tech demo looks amazing. Sure, anything can look amazing in lab, contained situation. You can make anything look great. Give me that exact same thing outside of your headquarters. Take that over to somebody's house and hook it up and play it and show me that this thing looks just that good over there. Because again,
Right.
you can always make things look great at the home front.
yeah, you're right.
Always,
Right.
because that's what you created it on. You created it on that exact machine. All right, fine. Take that exact same thing to a development kit and take it over to somebody's house and hook it up and show me the exact same
You're right.
footage.
Exactly.
If it don't come off the same way, then your tech demo is full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
all there is to it.
You're right.
What do you guys think in the
And-
chat over there about that, though? The tech
Yeah,
demo?
absolutely. So King Takim's calling her name is Unrealia.
That works.
Right.
It works.
Yeah, and John P says reminds me of those music artists that aren't able to sing live, but in the studio they are great. T-Pain, anybody? Well, actually, no. T-Pain, I think actually,
I heard he can.
I heard he can sing, but they just auto tune him
He
to
became
death.
famous for the auto
So
tune.
yeah, he became famous for the auto tune.
so.
But absolutely no, he's right. There's plenty of singers out there that can't sing worth a lick, but you get them in the studio. Wait, I
Yeah.
think
That's
Kesha
like
comes to mind.
Cassie,
Kesha comes to mind. Yeah,
and
Cassie.
SZA.
Yeah. Like, did she ever have anything besides Me and You? Like, did he do
No,
anything?
not that I
anything else
recall.
for her?
I don't know.
Not that
All
I
know is-
recall.
all I
Yeah,
know is
okay.
Today's music is too many microphones on the stage.
Yeah, I feel you. Dido, do you have anything that you wanted to bring up?
Well, I had a couple of things. It was kind of hard to go as one because one of them, it was like I finally got to see RoboCop in action for new Mortal Kombat or for Mortal Kombat.
All right, talk
11.
about that.
And I think it I was having my doubts because I'm like RoboCop. First off, how the heck is he going to move? He didn't move too fast in the movies. It looks like it's the '80s RoboCop, not the RoboCop from the reboot,
From the
whatever.
remake, yeah.
But he looks like he's going to be fairly, done fairly well. Fujin, I think, is going to be that character that people are going to be, picking. But you finally get your RoboCop versus Terminator. And when you guys were talking, I was also looking on Instagram, and I'm going to see if this picture is still up because it was an advertisement there's a new Looney Tunes coming out on HBO Max.
Oh yes.
And-
What?
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
can get a little, I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if it's in focus because I can't see what I'm looking at. But it's
Oh no, it looks like Teen Titans Go.
yeah, it's kind of weird. You got Porky Pig. I'm not really too happy with his design, but he as long as he's still
Your phone's shut off.
as long as he's still funny or what you call it, Daffy still looks the same. Bugs looks a little weird. Yosemite Sam, my goodness. And this got to a topic in the discussion on our Facebook page because there's a new Toucan Sam design.
Oh yeah.
And some people
He looks weird.
Yeah, he looks like he was designed to be in an anime. He kind of reminds me of Mr. Sparkle from The Simpsons, just the way his eyes look. But like his nose is a lot more rainbowy than before, because Toucan Sam has gone through a lot of design changes. I think he's been around since the 60s or 70s or so.
He has, yeah.
And he's gone through a lot of design changes. And this one, I mean, if you think about it, kids nowadays, that's the flashy, bright colored stuff. Because as much as I played of Fortnite, it's a really bright and flashy, specifically those concerts. My goodness. But what do you guys out there in the land of the Culture Junkie Nation think about these redesigns? Because a lot of people hate them, mainly not just because they look kind of odd to us because we didn't grow up with them, because nostalgia is a hell of a drug for a lot of people. But like, I look at Toucan Sam and like, I like Fruit Loops. As long as they don't change the taste, I don't care what the character looks like.
Exactly.
But I'm not.
I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
It's like it's advertising a product that you eat. Are you really going to care what the character looks like? You don't come for Toucan Sam. You come for what's inside the box.
Yeah.
I guess what they're gonna mess up the flavor. It's gonna be like new Coke.
or new Crunch Berries. Because remember how Crunch Berries used to be superior back in the day when it was just the red. We went over this last week.
Yeah.
We went over this last week.
The blue, purple, and all them other weird
No,
colors.
get that shit out of here.
I need my red dye.
Right. I need my red dye. Give it back
I
to
think
me.
the red dye is fine because I heard that it was the non natural that they're getting. I know in
I don't
Canada.
care.
Look, I know you don't care. I know you don't care.
Right.
I know in Canada they got rid of the non-natural colors, period. So I don't think there's any blue in
Man,
cereals at all.
whack.
They try to probably use like blueberry, which is actually purple or something like that.
Here's my
but-
thing, man. Here's my thing.
Whack.
Once upon a time, they used to use coca leaf in Coca-Cola.
Yeah, but that's natural.
I understand that, but you're still putting cocaine in your Coca-Cola. So I don't give a damn what kind of unnatural dyes are in my cereal. Just let me eat my cereal.
All right, so in response to your thing, Dado, Hand of Omega's like, I didn't really mind Lunatics Unleashed, so I'll be interested to see what they do here. Which
I know
Lunatics
he didn't
Unleashed,
mind.
right? I know he didn't mind that. Lunatics Unleashed, when it first came out, I thought it was weird. For me personally, I'm soured on Looney Tunes after watching the Looney Tunes show, because the Looney Tunes show was absolutely fucking
Talking about
hilarious.
the new one that came out that
The
was
one-
like for
yeah.
adults.
Yes, that shit
Yeah,
was fucking
it was.
hilarious.
They
dude.
made that Lola. Was it Lola?
Lola
They made her
Bunny.
kind of like freaking like nuts for
Dude,
freaking bugs.
Lola was great. Daffy was great.
Yeah.
Bugs was great. Speedy Gonzalez only in a fucking pizza parlor. Like, come on, really? Shit was hilarious. No, it was funny. It was funny as hell.
See,
Yeah.
the backstory to him owning that pizza parlor is actually kind of cool though.
Yeah.
So it was like it was kind of funny, like because like I only came across that show probably about like a couple years after it was on, and I kind of hate that it took me that long. Because the show was actually rather funny.
It was funny.
It was actually pretty good. It was
Yeah.
actually a pretty good
Shit
show.
was hilarious,
So-
man. Kristen Wiig as Lola was just it was just comedy
Dude,
gold.
like I'm still wondering, like why
Comedy
they had to
gold.
make Lola nuts though?
Dude,
She was freaking nuts,
comedy
man.
gold, man. It was
They
just
had
great.
to make her crazy, G.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude,
It
why
was
they do
great.
Lola like that?
Yeah. No, it was great. Fallen, did you have anything from Running Gambit this week?
Can't really other than I don't know if we talked about it last week. I don't think we did, but the little showcase that Microsoft had over the past week. That was a little
What is this?
that was
the thing where
yeah,
they got
they had-
caught. The thing that they
Yeah,
got
they-
caught using what was it? Pre-render footage?
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And they had that going on, and that was very underwhelming outside of maybe I mean, I don't know. Like the only thing that was interesting to me was that very first game that they showed, which was like an action shooter,
Mm-hmm.
that Bright Memory or whatever. That looked interesting because it looks like it was in-game footage, but honestly, we can't really be sure. And it was like everything else was just trailers and like very
Right.
minimal game footage. And I think probably the only thing we saw like most of or whatever was the Yakuza game. So
Okay.
it was
What
like
were you gonna say real quick before we move on?
Nah, we're good because
You're
I mean,
good?
it's like how do you? I don't know if they ran it live or what they did, but it's like how you get caught.
They got caught. We got blatantly caught.
It's like
This
you
shit
ain't.
was
It's like you ain't even on. It's not like you got to be on the stage. You could just rehearse this.
Yeah.
And, like whatever, man.
Marcus Spear Pryor, he brought up like he's like, Microsoft just can't get right, lying about the gameplay footage the whole show. She was hilarious. It was great.
Whatever, dog. Like that's to me. That's
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's just sad.
It's sad. It is so super sad, dude. It was hilarious. Anyway, guys. So we're gonna we enjoyed all the chat back and forth. We're gonna move on to the next topic here. It is mixed reaction.
Mixed reaction.
All right, cool. So last week Thursday, actually no Friday. Last week Friday. Actually no, it was a little bit longer than that. I don't remember. Anyway, so last week Justice League Dark Apokalips War came out, and it was kind of in most of the Facebook comic book groups that I'm a part of. It really kind of set the social media on blaze because of just how over the top violent it was. And a lot of people likened the film, which is 90 minutes, to DC's version of Infinity War and Endgame. And the reason for that is because they literally, everybody was getting viscerally beat apart. Like Shazam, like Captain Marvel / Shazam had his leg ripped off. You had literally some people getting ripped in half. It was just like, oh, that's what happened to I think some of the Green Lanterns. Darkseid was just literally coming in worse than Thanos, and he was just wrecking shop. Just so, but beyond that, the story itself was actually pretty okay. I did feel like they made the movie maybe a little bit longer or split it into two parts, I think it would have been more effective because they tried to cram a lot of things in 90 minutes. Not saying that they didn't do a good job of doing that, because they did, but I still felt I felt like I wanted more meat of the story. They kind of just went in, they set it up. Superman was, unnaturally aggressive for him. He said, no, we have to go attack Darkseid. This is an existential threat. We have to go and take him out right now. And Lex Luthor is the fucking voice of reason in the room. He's like, no.
Yeah, that was
you don't do
intriguing.
this. Like, what are you talking about? I think this is the wrong thing to do. And Clark is like, no, we have to go. Like, we have to kill him.
See, that's the thing that kind of bothered me about that, because I always say this when it comes up to comics. I have to preface this for people out there. You may be new, you don't know. I like comics. I don't really read them because they're too convoluted. Pisses me the hell off. I will pick up, graphic novels here and there, maybe to get stories, or I just talk to friends, go on wikis, what have you.
Right.
But from what I've seen, Superman has never really cut loose because for whatever reason, he's too afraid for this, too afraid for that. This is one of those instances where from the beginning, he should have cut loose. And that's why he did. I'm going to say that's why all these people got maimed and or killed, is because he did not cut loose. But he was also being spied on, so it was kind of like, well, but he still didn't cut loose. He needs to cut loose.
But that's what I loved. I love the fact that it's just like, dude, it's like, you guys are dealing with Darkseid.
Right.
Cyborg don't need to be in the room, dog.
No.
I'm like,
he was right there.
I love the fact that Darkseid playing that long game.
Yeah.
Darkseid is playing chess,
dude,
and everybody else playing checkers.
Like to your point, right? All the meeting while they're having this big old strategy session. Oh, hey, here's what we're going. Here's what we're going to do. You see Darkseid in Apocalypse just with his hands
just
like
sitting
this.
there,
just sitting there, just chilling, like
all right.
And it's like, but man,
Exactly.
the crazy thing is, it's like the crazy thing is like how everybody got set up to run into what they ran into.
Bruh.
That's
And
what I'm
it's
saying.
just like, and it's like, I'm just gonna say this, and just like to sum up the movie as a whole, like for me, Flashpoint is no longer the worst case scenario for DC. Like it no longer is.
No,
Pretty
it's
much.
not.
That's what I'm saying. It's like he was just sitting back like, come on, Cletus.
Right.
Come on.
Now we got now we have a poll that we ran based on this being the end, or basically the bookend of the DC animated movie universe. We ran a poll to say, okay, what was the best movie in that line, and we'll actually no, we can kind of reveal it now because we have another poll that's relevant to the main event that we get to it now. So D, if you wouldn't mind, I mean, it's pretty easy to do. We asked for people to pick their top 5 in the DC animated, DC animated universe, and by far and away the number one film was the Flashpoint Paradox. I think it was like it got like 27 votes out of all the people. It was just a clear and easy runaway. Some of the secondary choices were pretty interesting, but Flashpoint was clearly still. And I did watch it again. I watched Flashpoint again, and Flashpoint still stands up to this day. And that thing came out over 10 years ago. So but it was it was good. It was just really good.
Well, Damon Favor says Superman is too soft, and I agree. Flashpoint, see, he is because he's a weak character.
Okay.
He's always been a boring character.
He might be boring. I wouldn't say he's weak.
I wouldn't say he's weak and boring.
I
Okay,
mean, look,
I'll give you that.
The new 52 Superman was more interesting because he kind of sort of tried to go in that gray area, but apparently the writers didn't see all the way through.
Yeah, it
like
seemed like they walked that back after Justice League War, because like in Justice League War, he was kind of cocky. Like
Justice League War it was the best version of him.
Right, and then they walked that back. Like right afterwards. So I don't know. Yeah, but no, Flashpoint Paradox was the number one movie that everybody loved. You got the list up now? What's the give us the top 5 or the other 4 besides Flashpoint Paradox?
Well, number 2 would be Justice League War.
And that one was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah,
I didn't honestly, because I didn't think a lot of people really liked it. Number one, it was the first movie after Flashpoint, and Flashpoint was just so unbelievably good.
Flashpoint was just them going from one thing to New 52.
No, right, and I think that was the other thing about it is like this was the first one in the New 52 universe. New 52 has its own bag of problems, but
but they let off with the best character that they own.
Having Darkseid in there, that's not the that's not the problem.
That's why that movie got high votes though, because Darkseid came in and shot.
But the movie itself, was it really all that good? No, not really. I don't think so.
The movie was fine because here's the thing about DC. DC either does action really, really good, or they tell you a really, really good story. That's it. Usually there's no in between, and when there is in between, it usually sucks because like a lot of those Bat family movies like Batman Bad Blood, that sucked.
It did.
Like a lot of those,
really did.
A lot of those, and even that second Suicide Squad, that sucked.
Yeah.
So either they do really good or they do really bad.
Right. And the Suicide Squad, which was interesting, the Suicide Squad Hell to Pay was the only Suicide Squad in this movie. The other one that was really good, the Assault on Arkham, that was before this movie universe, but it was still the much better movie.
That's when I remember.
In comparison, I think Hell to Pay, there was something there. I didn't hate it. I thought there was something
either,
there,
but I just didn't think it was as good as Assault on Arkham.
My issue with like the first one, I think, was because granted, I understand it's still very much related to Batman, but it's like with it supposedly being a Suicide Squad movie, like they use Batman heavily to market it. And I understand why. So it's like, but I don't think that like assault that makes Assault on Arkham like not good, because it was, but it's just, again, it's like where they can't really stay away from Batman and stuff. And then of course we know that's how we realize Batman keeps track of everybody's work schedules in Arkham, which I find hilarious. So but I don't know, like that is kind of surprising, like to be up there like that, I guess. But I don't know. Like maybe it's just me. I don't know. Like especially with Justice League War, it's like I don't know if that's just because everybody like thinks the Green Lantern thing was still hilarious even now. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Because they did Green Lantern dirty in that movie. Like
they did everybody dirty in the movie because they showed that Darkseid is the threat that he actually is.
No, dude. Nowhere near on the level as they did Howard Jordan. Howard Jordan like caught an L throughout the entire film.
And he
like,
deserved
completely.
Which film are we talking about?
Justice League War.
The new one, right?
Not the newest one. Justice League War is the one that came right after Flashpoint, where Darkseid showed up. According to New 52, Darkseid showed up for the first time.
I'm trying to figure out. I know I watched it, but I just can't remember it. I remember Flash.
Basically, the one with him getting smacked and getting jumped by parademons. Basically,
well, that happened to Shazam too, because Shazam deserved that. Again, it's just to me, Darkseid is the thing that DC should always strive to show and bring to the forefront, because this, if again, and the rumor is that the Snyder cut that we love to talk about technically was supposed to be this movie. It was supposed to be the Justice League setup was supposed to be these three. It was supposed to be 3 movies for Justice League. It was supposed to be the one that we got, basically. Steppenwolf basically goes back. It's failed. Superman, I think is either brought back to life or Superman is turned. Then we get, essentially almost like the Injustice storyline, and Darkseid shows up. So it's like that whole nightmare thing was supposed to be the beginning of the 3rd Justice League film. So if they would have done that and actually got it to work, they could have been on that Avengers Endgame, level. But again, Warner Brothers has dumb executives that don't like fun.
They just don't get the comic things. I think they only like rom-coms and shit or something like that.
Well, and you know what? Everybody's been saying forever that Warner Brothers needs to literally turn the keys to their live-action franchise over to the people that do their animated stuff.
Been saying that.
And of late, some of their animated stuff hasn't been that good. Justice League Dark actually was really awesome. I think. What other ones have they had? They've had Gotham by Gaslight, which I think a lot of people didn't really like. A lot of people didn't like it. It was just okay.
They didn't like Ninja Batman either.
Ninja Batman was terrible.
Marcus Spears prior saying that enough with the Bat. DC, other
Amen.
people need their shine, especially in live-action animated movies. And that may be true.
Ain't no maybe. It is true.
They're able to tell stories without using Batman. The problem is they're afraid, and they're trying to go for the quick buck in a lot of stuff.
Now look. Case in point, right? It was awesome that they didn't even try and put Batman in Birds of Prey. Right call. It wasn't about Batman. The instant you put Batman in it, people are going to be clamoring, saying, "Oh, where's Batman? I want Batman."
I agree. I agree. And
they had Harley in it, so of course people are going to wonder if he's going to show up.
Yes, but there's 2 parts in the movie
Harley,
that there's
Joker,
no
Batman.
way that Batman is not going to show up. It's just like his ear is to the ground on everything that's going on in Gotham. And even if it was the first thing where he would have shown up, I know it spurred a moment. So that one would be kind of hard-pressed because it basically just happened and she basically walked away. I'm not going to really talk about it, but the end of the movie where they all were at the, come on. You know he would have shown up.
I mean, I
get it. I get why he did.
Even here's how I would have addressed that.
Okay.
I would have just you blew up Axis Chemicals or whatever chemical plant it's supposed to be, and then just have it where the bat signal shows up. You don't even have to cast Batman. Just because if you're in Gotham, the brightest Gotham I've ever seen, damn it, because there was a lot of daytime scenes. In
a lot
this
of
Gotham.
daytime scenes. You're absolutely right about that.
So if you're in Gotham and Axis Chemicals blows up. Damn it, that back signal is going up.
Hey,
I
so
don't
now,
care.
To your point, right? Here's another missed opportunity that they have. And actually, what? Oh.
Yeah, they're messing with the headphones.
Sorry.
Turn my headphones up.
Sorry. But I think a missed opportunity that they had was when Harley was in the, police precinct. They could at least shown a picture. They didn't have to show Gordon. They just could have shown a picture of J.K. Simmons. That's it. That's all they had to do.
Why?
Just to establish that, they're in Gotham. Commissioner Gordon's there. That was one of the gripes that I heard. It's like, how are you going to have Gotham? How are you going to have Harley go in the police precinct and Gordon not be there? And I'm like, Gordon isn't everywhere, right? And there's a lot of police precincts in Gotham City, right? I'm just saying, people think Gotham is so super small city where everybody's just hanging out in one building. It's like Gotham is only 10 blocks wide.
All these weirdos talking about the '60s Batman and whatnot. So we should have Chief O'Hara and Gordon up in there with a red phone on the desk.
Yeah, that would have been a nice little Easter egg. That would have been awesome.
There was something that somebody in the chat said that I have to go back because about Constantine. They were saying that where is it? DBL King. I hope WB really realizes John Constantine has an audience. I'm gonna tell you something. I enjoy Constantine live action. The guy who plays him, don't know his name off the top of my head.
Matt Ryan.
He's perfect.
They keep making him involved because everybody loves him.
Yes,
he loves the character too,
and he's great for it. Because look, I didn't watch a Constantine TV show. I missed it.
I didn't either.
And I'm mad I missed it because when I watch him on Legends, He is
He's
perfect
fantastic.
for the character.
No,
and
he's
then
fantastic.
The character that in Justice League Dark that I saw him in, I liked him. And this one, I'm like, they need to start doing more with him.
I agree. Like when Legends is over, I fully expect the Constantine show to pop right on the top.
Here's the problem, though, and I think here's why they're so gun shy on Constantine. Remember that film they did with Keanu Reeves playing Constantine?
Because they didn't get the character right.
No, they didn't get. First of all, they didn't get the character right. Secondly, they treated it as if it wasn't a comic book movie. Because it's like, dude, I understand that you're just trying to put it out there, but this is your chance to start building a universe. Because you know he's a comic book character. You know he deals with the Justice League.
That's true. But to that argument, there's two things we also have to consider. One, people don't kind of like that movie in hindsight. Two, everybody loves Keanu Reeves right now.
No, they love Keanu now. I get that, but at the same time, that was during the time when they was trying to be all sly and slick about it. Like, oh, we're gonna bring out Constantine. It's like, dude, this is a comic book movie. Throw DC's logo in there. Do the whole thing. Build a universe.
So was this like, I'm trying to think, like when that movie came out, was this like before or after like DC like officially brought Vertigo into the fold? Or was that like before that?
It was probably after. But I mean, like either way it goes, like that movie came out basically as a standalone. Like it wasn't. It almost like they were treated it as if it was this. Here's the Constantine movie. I'm like, okay, that's nice.
I just think that character because also what was said, King to King said if they can do Lucifer, they can do Constantine.
Of course,
and that's 100%. Because again, going on the comic book things, talking to one of my good friends about Lucifer, he tells me even though I enjoy the TV show, that's not.
It's
Lucifer.
nothing like the.
It's nothing like.
Dude, and I tried reading the comic book after loving the show. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's so different. I just can't do it.
Completely different.
Yeah,
but just of them doing those type of TV shows, and in fact, they put Lucifer in that super crossover. So being the fact that they put Lucifer in the super crossover, they can do a Constantine, and I know people can watch it because they watch Supernatural, and I don't know much. I've never watched an episode of Supernatural, but from my understanding,
Supernatural's done everything. Trust me.
So
the main antagonist in final season is God himself.
Yeah. So with even saying that they're doing a lot of stuff,
Haysbert as God as well.
Haysbert. Who's
Joe Boo.
Who's that?
Pedro Serrano from Major League.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
But okay, just they can do a Constantine entertaining show. I know it because he's probably the most entertaining character on Legends right now. I want to see their TV show. I hope Netflix picks him up. I hope they do because we got one more season.
Dude, the other thing about Constantine on that show, he's a fucking man whore, dude.
Yeah,
he sleeps with everybody.
Hey. When in that one where he says, "Oh, my ex is here," and he thought it was like,
It was King Shark.
It was King Shark. I'm like, King Shark is a shark.
Right.
I'm like, what the hell?
Dude, the whole King
Like,
Shark
this
is a shark.
dude
Was an
bangs
obvious
anything
I
that
am Groot
moves.
rip.
Oh yeah, it had to be because
Yeah.
I didn't know King Shark did that.
Yeah.
I know he talked like
No,
that.
he never did.
He
no, that's
doesn't.
the thing. He
Yeah,
never
that
did.
kind of
King
threw me
Shark
off
speaks
too.
regular.
So.
Yeah, he
But
never did.
Head of Omega said that the Keanu Reeves movie doesn't really damage the current prospects. I didn't say that it damages the current prospects. I said that's why Warner Brothers hasn't done anything with it as far as a film.
Yeah,
because they've already done a film and it was garbage.
Yeah, it's
Kinda
kind
like
of
Green Lantern.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That's exactly what I was going to
Exactly.
say. So,
exactly that.
but it's like at this point, it's like Warner Brothers has to really start get their ear on the pulse of the community and know where
That's not
it
going to happen
currently
until
stands.
whichever CEOs and vice presidents and whatever kick the bucket and you get some young blood in there. It's not going to happen.
You're right.
You need young
You're
blood
right.
to do this, or you need people that have vision.
Yeah, for definitely. So
Yeah.
the best thing we could do is just wait and see if somebody in the executive chair knows is like, hey.
So honestly, all right. So I want to go around the table because we had a great discussion about this, and I'm glad everybody's enjoying it. We need to move on to this week in gaming, but real quick before I do that, I want to ask everybody around the round table here, what was your favorite, DCAU movie that they had? Mine was Flashpoint. What was yours?
Mine honestly was Public Enemies. Batman Superman Public Enemies is probably one of the best ones they've
in
done.
this run. I mean, in this run, not all together.
All
in this run.
together because
Yeah.
this run had a bunch of stinkers. Dude.
It did. No, it did. No, it absolutely did.
So outside of Justice League War, like
And that's
Batman,
so
Superman,
surprising that
Public
you
Enemies.
still okay just because it had Darkseid. That was your favorite.
Darkseid is the only thing that
Okay,
even
all
matters
right.
in DC
All right,
to me,
all right,
dude.
all right, fine. Okay.
DC,
Other than Batman?
Which is
again,
fair.
Batman is great, but it's like what they're doing with him now with the person they got cast. Batman's Batman's stock has gone down a little bit. Thankfully, DC hasn't messed up Darkseid yet.
Right.
So
Give him a chance.
Right.
Give him a chance. I bet you Snyder would have done it. Anyway,
I don't know. We'll see.
what was your favorite?
Do I have to pick on that list?
No, I mean
Red Hood.
Since he likes to,
See?
Red
Hood.
Red
Okay,
Hood.
see, Red
And
Hood
I
is
know
also
that's a
great.
Batman movie, but Red Hood was
Red Hood
friggin-
was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Red Hood was phenomenal.
That's one of the things when I saw that movie, and I was like, I'm sick of them taking Batman, and I know we keep going back and saying this, and starting them from the beginning and telling the same story and over again. You don't have to do that, and Red Hood did not do that. They just picked up somewhere and started to go.
Here's what I loved
and
about
they could do that live
and,
action.
and here's what I did love about this movie. It was like literally at the end, everybody was completely fucked. It was
Except
like
for Batman.
No, dude, everybody was completely.
He might have been
like the
mentally.
entire world was like, dude, this shit is over.
Yeah.
Like we're going to die. There's no saving
Yeah,
this.
because they were like what 80% of the Earth's core. Or
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
some
like
crazy
Batman was
percent
like, no,
gone.
there's no reversing this. We're dead. Like
Superman could
literally,
have reversed it.
No,
You know what he
couldn't
did?
do it.
I'm going to tell you something. Hold on.
He could have gone back to time.
No, not even back in time. Superman is so powerful, he could have went out into space, found an iron goddamn like meteorite or something like that that could be the same consistency, drove that bitch into the center of the earth and where it would have melted. And he's the only one that literally could have done that. But he's not smart enough.
Anyway,
and I just
He's
made
supposed
that
to be smart enough. They be writing Superman
Right.
extra powers whenever he needs them.
But I guess what I loved
Right.
about this, right, is Constantine went to the Flash and was like, "Yo,
up.
man,
What you gotta do.
you know what you gotta do, right?"
Yeah.
and Barry was like, "No, man, I swear I would never do this again." He was like, "Nah, bro."
It's like, look
see,
at
Right.
this.
This is over with.
Look at
And
this.
that's the thing that I loved about this movie was like
Yeah.
Darkseid had his ass running as a battery. I
I
was like, Darkseid is savage, dog. Darkseid is savage.
Had that dude on a cosmic
That's
treadmill
one
just
thing
all
I just
day.
don't get with the Flash. If you're faster than the speed of light, nobody should be able to see you. Except for-
Should,
yeah, but it's just like
Man, look.
I mean,
It's
I don't know.
Darkseid,
I
man.
don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Darkseid
Look, the whole-
is. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
It was like the whole situation with them going to Apocalypse in the first place was to bait them in and capture them. Like he had a plan for everybody
Exactly.
the moment they
That's-
stepped up. The
that's what
moment they
makes him
stepped
so
up
freaking
Apocalypse.
awesome.
Yeah.
And this dude turned Batman into his right hand man because he knew.
He stuck that fool on the Metron chair.
That's what I'm saying. So to me, it's like that just goes to show how much respect he has for Batman.
Yeah.
Outside of all
true.
them other heroes.
Yeah.
Because he could have did that to Shazam. Shazam has the wisdom of Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, nah, dude, this regular
how often
human
does he
right
use that
here
wisdom,
is
though?
the most devious and tactical human I know. Metron chair, run my stuff.
That was pretty cool at the end how they basically turned Trigon loose on Darkseid.
Oh heck yeah, that's about the only person that could take him down.
Yeah, I
'Cause
thought
Superman is.
I thought that was pretty dope. I thought that was
Superman
pretty dope.
is-
Anyway,
And at the-
we're
Too,
gonna,
kryptonite 'cause he's
yeah,
weak.
we need to move off of this because we can end up talking about this for
And
another
at the end
while.
of the day, they still couldn't kill him.
Yeah.
This week in gaming.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. That was This Week in Gaming. We had some fabulous, wonderful games in that list that came out this week, those years ago. Some of them in that list I know I've played, some of them I own and I haven't played, and I hate saying that, but it happens all the time. And I think in that list, the ones that I have played, my favorite game would have to be Doom. And it's weird because I don't like first-person shooters
Wait a minute,
that much.
I thought you get sick playing
Well,
first shooters.
King of Fighters 2000, I didn't play. If you look on my personal Facebook, the game that actually came out random today was King of Fighters Dream Match 99, I think it's called.
Dude, that shit was awesome.
For the Dreamcast.
Yeah, that shit
Love
was
that
awesome.
game.
Yeah.
Hate that you can't do VGA out on it because you have to freaking, it's a pain in the butt to play if you wanted to look good. But I say Doom because it is fun. I did play Doom, the old one for the PC. That one didn't make me too sick. This new Doom does make me sick. I haven't played Uncharted 4, though I have it. Gran Turismo, I remember, I don't know if I rented that. I don't think I bought it. And it was just not impressive to me because I liked arcade-style racers. Injustice 2, I recently got it like last year because I finally got it for cheap. Haven't played it. Sorry, happens. And like,
Of course not.
it sucks sometimes, but we're not all perfect, man.
We're gonna change this segment to this week in Dido's collection
Right.
Yeah,
of stuff.
I
that he
mean,
hasn't
I
opened yet.
want to sit
Right.
down and play it. Uncharted 4 is going to get played after I played 2 and 3. I beat 1. I can say that I played through 1 and I beat 1. Okay,
That's fine.
but I have been playing that Doom because for me, Doom. You have to play on a PC. I know it's come out and it looks great on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, even the Nintendo Switch. You can actually play Doom. It's not the greatest version on there, but just that system is playing Doom is friggin' amazing. And the last time I played it, I did start to feel ill, and I think I know my problem. It's not just that it's a first-person shooter. It's a first-person shooter, and when I get frustrated because I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to go, what I'm going to do, I just start getting frustrated. I start feeling hot. And then my stomach started feeling all messed up, and I want to freaking do that.
So you have hot flashes and you be playing.
Probably.
Doom.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
I
that's
don't know
crazy.
what is going on. But, yeah, Doom on PlayStation 1. I remember playing that, renting that a long time ago. That made me even more. I was like, I thought I was just going to vomit all over the place. But I was just
That's
like,
so
wow.
funny.
And Doom 64 did the exact same thing to me. But the original Doom on PC didn't bother me. Doom 64 bothered me. They're still fun games. And Doom 64 also got re-released on this thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of, but those.
Wait a minute. What is this blasphemy I hear? Burnout is the superior racer?
It is.
I mean,
Yeah, compared
far
to
as
Gran Turismo?
Okay, as an arcade racer,
Yeah,
I
arcade
get it,
racer.
sure, but Gran Turismo, okay.
Gran
No
Turismo
one
is
wants
not
to
the
play
epitome
realistic.
of realistic.
No one
though.
wants to play
It's Forza
realistic
now.
Dude,
racers.
Stop. No, even
Yes.
Forza, a lot of people say that even now, Forza is still more of an arcade style
No,
racer.
you
than-
got
than-
two
than
types of
simulation.
Forzas.
Hey,
You
dude,
got the
I'm
arcade
sorry.
Forza. Hey, you can
Sorry.
call up Waffles.
Okay, there's only
Waffles,
okay,
the mega arcade
but
racer.
all right, but
I mean,
here-
the mega
here's the
driving
thing, right?
fan.
Only one of them is actually got an esports following. Gran Turismo is it. Forza does not.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I don't
Okay,
follow
They
any
have
of
they
that.
have a
Okay.
whole circuit
Yeah.
based around
Okay.
just Gran Turismo.
That's crap.
No, it's
Okay.
true.
Well, you got
I
Forza.
understand. I understand it.
I
I'm
heard
just saying.
Forza
Because
is
you
a
got
better
Forza Motorsport, and then you got Forza Horizon.
Horizon,
Exactly.
exactly.
Horizon is the more arcade one. I
Uh-huh.
believe.
Yep.
And they said Forza Motorsport is friggin' the top of the simulation from my understanding.
Here's why I don't really like simulators. I have a driver's license. I can drive.
I mean, I get that part. No,
I
get-
like
no, I
I like
totally get
arcade
it.
racers
No,
because
totally
I
get
can do
that.
crazy stuff that I can't do with my real car.
Right.
Ramona, you got that right. Mario Kart is the best racer.
All right.
Get on that Mario
Fair,
Kart.
fair enough. No, for real.
Mario
like,
Kart to end friendships.
here's the thing.
You ain't never lied, man.
Here's the thing. Gran Turismo, when it first came out, I saw it. I was like, I don't know. And the only one that I even remotely thought I was going to think about getting was Gran Turismo 3 because it had a red cover instead of the blue cover. It
The
was
A-Spec?
yeah, the
Yeah.
A-Spec one. And it's just like, whatever. And I still didn't get it. So it's like, and like I said, it's like I can go out and drive. Because all it is simulating driving. And it's like you're driving around a track. I'm like,
Dude, okay. Now, I'll grant you this. I'm not ready to do, like, no simulation driving because, like, some of the races they had in there will last for fucking hours, dude. I'm like, nah, man. I'm good on that. No, I'm
It's
good
an
on that.
endurance thing. Big
Yeah,
time.
yeah, it's an
Mental.
endurance thing, and I get it. But, so that level of realism, what they were able to do with Polyphony Digital, that's to be lauded because I think it opened up a whole new level of esports
Oh, they
that I
did it
think a lot
first.
of people,
Most definitely.
you know,
that's
have
f-
have
and
followed.
again,
So it's a
and-
trendsetter.
and
So I'll
that's
give it that.
fine. But a game that like okay, you gotta earn your license.
Yeah,
I hated
already
that.
got
I
a
hated
li-
that.
It's like I already have a
I
license.
so hated that
I'm
part.
drive my daggone car. Shut the hell up.
It's like, hey,
But-
can you floor this and then stop on a dime
Right.
at a certain distance? I'm like, the fuck is this, man?
All right, Marcus Pryor talking about give respect to Mod Nation Racers. I'm not familiar with that game.
I
My Nation
remember
Race was on
the
PS3.
game is on.
It was on
yeah,
PS3.
and the Vita, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
PS3 and the
Or
Vita.
PSP. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Hand of Omega Crazy Taxi counts in a way, but it's not a straight up racer. That's
Yeah.
more of that's more of a point A to point B game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like for me,
no.
it's
Go
for
ahead.
me, it's Burnout. It's Burnout.
No,
It's
Yeah.
Burnout is the
Revenge.
most fun game.
It's
Burnout
like
is the deal.
it is, and which I will say probably like Need for Speed Underground is like a close second.
I think I put the most hours in the Ridge Racer series.
Yeah, Ridge
Most
Racer.
definitely.
Yeah, Ridge
Revolution.
Racer 1 especially.
Like I never
No.
played anymore after
Type
after
4
Revolution, no.
is the best one,
Burnout
bro.
Paradise may have been the one I spent the most time on, but the most fun I had with Burnout was Burnout 3 Takedown.
Oh, Takedown.
Takedown was
that
just
deal,
the
man.
shit, dude.
Takedown was the one that was teaching like regular drivers how to do police pit maneuvers. Man. Like that was literally like, dude,
Yes.
I'm about to pit this dude. Like it was literally
Yeah.
the best way to take people down in that game. What was the other one that had that crash simulator? Was it also Takedown?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Where you
Yeah, well,
had to
basically
they
make
had
crash.
that.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then-
cause crashes.
Yes. Yes.
See, now
And then,
that's why I like
Leash.
arcade racers because they let you do crazy fun stuff like that.
Yeah.
Most of these newer simulator games, the companies don't want their cars crashed.
Damaged, yeah.
So I'm like, what?
Right.
It's like cars crash.
Yeah.
They crumple. And especially you got photorealistic graphics.
Yeah.
Man, come
no,
on now.
I want my car to be perfection because that's like advertising for me.
That's
Like,
one of the things that
yeah.
Forza has over Gran Turismo, because Gran Turismo, the cars still do not crumple and whatnot.
Right.
And in Forza, they do, and it affects
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
So,
See, and to me, that's better than, the simulate. Okay, simulation means simulate everything, but they're not simulating.
Right, no, they're not.
But no, going back to the list though, Uncharted 4 was cool.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of it. I never really went all the way through that one. But can't believe you had Enter the Matrix on there.
I had to
man.
put it
Oh,
on there,
yeah,
man.
I
Dude,
forgot
I
about
had
that.
to put it on there.
Yeah.
Not that it was the best
gosh, I
game, but just
returned
dude,
that game.
I had a lot of fun with that game.
the
Hold
man
on,
that
wait.
collects
Like,
games
I was one of-
returned
I
this game.
returned
I
Fallen
was one of the
Marvel said
people
he
that had a
fun
lot
with
of
it.
fun with that game.
Hey, dude, you can have
wait,
fun
wait,
with
wait.
it. One thing that I enjoyed about the game is that you saw what was going on in between certain spots in the Matrix, and I thought it was
Right.
cool because like that whole
That
chase
was
scene.
really ambitious of them
Yeah.
to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that was the game that bridged Matrix Reloaded,
Yep.
Enter the Matrix, and the Animatrix. Like stuff that happened in the Animatrix happened like you were supposed to be interacting with the game.
Yeah.
And then the game also carried over into the movie.
And guess who messed up the whole
Yep.
thing? Warner Brothers.
Yep.
Warner Brothers just can't get their
Can't
foot
get
out of
right.
their mouth,
They
man.
can't get
'cause
right.
it's like the only thing that they even pulled from Animatrix is these are the scans from the last scans from the Osiris. I'm like,
Flight of
like, dude,
Osiris.
yeah,
Flight
Flight
of
of
the
Osiris,
Osiris.
but it's like
Yeah.
it's like.
But they
you-
mentioned that in Reloaded. Like that was actually a scene in Reloaded.
I
that they
know, but that's
mentioned.
what I'm saying. They mentioned
but
it
then-
one time.
right.
That whole thing was supposed
Right.
to be like very pivotal and important. Like that whole thing that they were
Right.
like going into the Matrix to get, and they were running from Agent Smith to bring back.
Mhm.
That was the thing from the Osiris.
Like
I'm like-
I was hoping to see a lot more of Jada as Niobe in Reloaded. Didn't get that.
Well, I mean,
I was hoping to see
Will-
Ghost a little
Will-
bit. Didn't
Will-
get that either.
Will messed that
That's
up.
why they
There
made
you
the game.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, Ghost, and that's the thing. Ghost like seemed like he was gonna be interesting.
He was.
and then I really, especially from Reloaded, I wanted to see more of the what is her name? The Oracle's bodyguard. I wanted to see a lot more. from him.
Seraph.
Yeah, I wanted
Seraph.
to see a hell of a lot more from Seraph.
I forgot all about her. Yeah.
Seraph should have.
You know
been,
what?
Him
That
and Neo
fight-
should have been
that-
like.
Yeah.
Now I will
Partnered
give that
up.
game one thing. The fight scene that they showed between Seraph and Roy Jones Jr. was actually kind of dope.
Yeah, that was kind of dope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
hate it was only exclusive to the game, but it was dope.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, come on now. But
Yeah.
again, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that was sad. And Injustice 2, the follow-up to the very popular Injustice game. This may be controversial. I liked Injustice 1 better.
Injustice 1 was way better.
Yeah.
Injustice 1 had a way better story.
Agreed.
And Injustice 2, like some of the characters they had in there were like, Meh.
Yeah,
I mean,
like it just.
what
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
didn't
Go ahead,
like.
sorry.
Well, I was gonna no, you're okay. What I didn't, I mean, what I liked and didn't like. They tried to up the replay value by making it so you had to keep playing, these watchtower, missions in order to unlock stuff to create different versions of the character. That was kind of cool.
That was the same problem with Mortal Kombat 11.
Right. Exactly.
It's like after a while, it's like again, I have no problem with a game expanding and adding stuff. And okay, you got a couple of online events and you can get some stuff.
Yeah.
But don't make it so if you miss the online event, there's no way to
you
get
can get it?
whatever it
Yeah.
was. Because it's like,
no.
okay, now I've got a whole bunch of just nothing. Because it's like, okay, like the whole thing with all the different armors and all. It's like,
Right.
I don't want to sit here for 15 hours to unlock a couple of different colors. Like just
Exactly.
It's like I don't.
Exactly.
It's like I know it's controversial for a lot of people. I'll just buy it. I don't really care.
Right.
Just make it for sale, and I'll just buy it because I don't have time to sit there for hours and hours and grind.
Right.
For all of this crap just to like get a couple of colors or
Right.
a couple of
different pieces of
accoutrements.
marble.
Like,
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
come on, dude.
Yeah. So I mean, and the big thing about it is like obviously this game featured Darkseid. It had all 4 of the turtles in there. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of cool. Had
Well,
Raid in there. That was
It
kinda
had a turtle, and then you could dress them up as the other turtles.
cool. Okay. Yes. I mean,
everybody had their own unique play style, which I thought was fine.
I thought that was cool.
I think my main issue between Injustice and Mortal Kombat 11, like my biggest gripe with both of the games, like outside of like the regular aesthetic stuff, to me was like the guest character choices. Like,
You
personally,
didn't like Hellboy?
it's like it's like it was cool that he was there, but I'm thinking like
Hellboy
this is
with
an
the
odd
switching
choice
arm.
with the plethora of
the
DC characters you
switching
guys
arm,
have.
right? Because it's like you put him on the
Like-
2-piece side, his arm is on the wrong hand. Like, what do you? What is that?
Yeah, it's like
just
it's
like-
like we're in 2020. You guys should have fixed that stuff.
Really
by now.
though, man, this ain't no damn mirrored.
This ain't like
swap.
Sagat. This ain't like
Exactly.
Sagat from Street Fighter or Vega. It's like, come on, dog.
Yeah, that was just bad. That was just really
John
bad.
P said before the Injustice game, remember there was Mortal Kombat versus DC.
I didn't even bother playing that game.
Hey,
They said
that
that
was
was the worst. I watched
I've been
the
trying to
top
I've been
10
trying to
list.
forget that.
They said that was the worst Mortal Kombat game of the main series, and I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, really?
Yeah, it is because
Wow.
of the
Bad.
fact
well,
that
I don't know.
first
man.
of all, you basically have a Mortal Kombat game with no real fatalities in
I
it.
don't know.
Like the game like was so
Four?
watered
According to the
down.
list
was
that I
pretty
saw,
bad.
4 was pretty
4
bad.
was low on that list
Yeah,
as
4
well.
was pretty bad.
Because
It's not
number
no
one
no yeah
was?
DC
best
Universe isn't the worst
Well,
as far as the
No,
Mortal Kombat
9
games
was
is
that
like
deal.
Yeah, 9 was the truth.
but it's just I don't know, like my only positive takeaway from Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe was Captain Marvel had the best grab in the game to me.
Right.
So-
I bought it for cheap.
All right, real quick out of the chat before we move on. King to King says stop putting RPG in fighters.
He's not wrong.
And that's
He's
I can
not wrong.
definitely agree with that. Injustice 2 got carried away with microtransactions and farming.
That also is true.
100% right.
Yeah.
Wolverine Solid X checking in. What's up, brother? He said RoboCop is going to be in Mortal Kombat 11. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Weird.
And,
Look, man, if I don't get ED209 doing the whole you have 5 seconds to comply fatality, I might have to write.
Apparently that's the X-ray
That's-
move for him.
That's what? That's the X-ray? No, I want the fatality where
Yeah.
he literally is blowing body parts off of the other character. No, if I don't get that, that's
They
his
could do it,
problem.
though. King to King brought Star Wars Masters of Terras
Kasai Bat? No, it's not. No.
I still need to get that game, just for the
Okay.
novelty of it.
Yeah, find it on eBay. How much is it right now?
It probably is ridiculous.
Yeah, it
because
probably is ridiculously high.
It's
'Cause-
probably become one of those nobody owns it or everybody took it back in and it just starts to slowly disappear.
Nah, dude.
All right, King to King says it's in there.
Oh, is it in
So-
there? He does that with RoboCop and his fatality? Bet.
So we'll see. It's
Bet.
gonna be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, bet.
Weird
I'm still
that
not
he's
buying that game for that, though. But
Well, no, I mean, I already own the
yeah,
game.
yeah.
And here's the other messed up part about that, real quick, before we move on. The season pass is essentially $40.
We went over this a couple last week, right?
So they
Right?
are
Yeah, but
charging
still.
$40
No,
extra
right,
dollars.
Yeah,
for
it's
it.
straight up
$40.
$40.
$40. You get
Yep.
3
Nope.
characters.
Not
cheap.
buying it. Sorry. Nope.
It's cheap. How cheap?
No, I'm talking about Terras Kasai.
Yeah, I know. Cheap. How
If
cheap?
you want disc only, you can get it for $7. If you want the
Complete.
complete, $20.
Okay, complete 20. I might have to buy that.
Bet.
I might have to go ahead and buy that
But
one of
yeah,
these
they got to
days.
buy now, and they're $20.
I might.
That's
All
if
right,
you're gonna-
I'll look it up and check it out.
Yeah,
when I
man.
get
Because,
back home.
dude, like that game was horrendously bad. Like,
All right.
come on, really?
Okay, so
Yeah.
Ed 209.
Ed
shoot,
shows
kill
up.
you,
Robo pulls up the cannon. Boom. What?
50 cal. They might be talking about the Cobra gun.
Oh, the 50 cal. Okay.
Or the Cobra gun.
Okay. Yeah. No. Wolverine
Yeah.
says Ed 209 uses Ed 209 to shoot and kill you, while RoboCop uses a 50 cal bullet to kill you.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So yeah, they added.
All right.
So yeah, they added the stage fatalities back in it.
Again,
I
it's a big
guess.
update, but here's the problem with the update. The stage fatalities, the friendships, all that is part of the quote-unquote free update. All that's for free. That's the
Right.
whatever. The story mode, I don't know if that's hidden behind the paywall or not,
Probably.
but $40
No,
for
I heard the story mode is free.
then the $40 for the what then? Because them season pass characters and a couple of skins ain't worth $40.
It's
That's
gotta
what
be
I'm
the
saying.
characters,
Especially
man.
if
That's
that's what I'm saying.
stupid,
Especially
dude.
like if people already got the premium,
Right. It's
the
right.
premium
It's got to
edition.
be
It's
the
like
characters.
Matter of
I'm not
fact-
about to put any more money into this.
Right. It's like for real. For me, I paid for that Scorpion, happy version with the I should be getting all this for free
Right.
because I already paid my dues
Right.
on this. So
Right.
that's
Your dues,
that's
Jack.
right. Exactly.
like-
You pay your dues, Jack. I mean, it's just
Right.
like. But here's
It's
the
like
funny
no
thing.
more Warner
Here's the
Brothers,
funny
no
thing.
more.
The $60 version includes all of this. So it's another complete edition scenario. So
Yeah.
whatever. We'll move on now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. That was This Week in Gaming. We're going to go ahead and move on to reveal the poll. It is for the culture. Okay, so the second of this week's polls that we ran was all about the Clone Wars. And actually, it wasn't necessarily just about the Clone Wars, but it was about the best lightsaber duels in Star Wars history. And so we ran through through my research. It's not biased research. I literally did research on more than one article and kind of get a consensus of what a lot of people were saying were the best lightsaber duels across Star Wars history. So we listed 10 lightsaber duels across all the shows and movies. We're talking Clone Wars, we're talking Rebels, we're talking episodes 1 through 9, and this is the list that we came up with. Some pretty interesting choices made the list, but we will just rattle off the top 5 because I think if we did the top 10, it might get to be a little bit too much. So starting from 5, what was number 5 going to number 1?
Well, number 5 on our list with only 4 votes, but it looks like you could vote for more than one in this one. So
You could.
Ahsoka versus Darth Maul, and that would probably be the one that you saw in the last season. That was really long. It was very.
That was so well choreographed.
Yeah,
what they did.
choreographed.
It
'cause
was
they also
so good.
They grabbed Ray
Park.
Park, and I don't know the lady's name who played Ahsoka doing the motion capture. So I thought that was kind of cool. I like callbacks like that. Seriously, when they do that.
And what they did with Ray Park coming back as Darth Maul, it lended, because even though Maul's been in the show for a number of years, this lended some authenticity to his moveset and the way he was flowing through the fight. But it also kind of showcased Ahsoka's tenacity and resolve to keep on fighting. And even though a guy who has many years on her and much more experience in some ways, that she cleverly figured out a way to disarm him and subdue him. I just thought, as a duel, between the back and forth, where the playing field between the two of them wasn't even remotely even, that Ahsoka found a way to come out on top. And I just thought it was a really good duel. What's number 4?
Number 4 is Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader. Empire Strikes Back.
Now, this is the one that I think everybody from their childhood just absolutely remembers. You go from A New Hope and you seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi and Vader. They're kind of just crossing swords, and it's kind of stiff. There's no real. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of tension there. It's kind of like they're just like.
It was brand new.
It was brand new, but it was like whatever. Here, Vader was like, okay, I'm going to assert my dominance. I'm only going to fight you with one hand, and I'm literally going to just outdo you.
Yeah.
And it was just great.
He wasn't putting much effort.
He wasn't putting much effort at all. He was just
He was letting him understand
Yeah.
that you're here, and I'm
way
way
up
up
there.
here.
Yeah.
It's like, I am that much better than
Right.
you, and I'm going to let you see why. And I love how it just, and like you said, it escalated. It was just like, it starts off, it's like, okay, well,
Oh, that's
yeah,
cute.
yeah, you got a couple moves.
Yeah, that's cute.
All right, unblock this, unblock that.
Uh-huh.
All right, okay.
Impressive.
Oh, okay, so yeah, it's cool. So you jumped out of that. Oh, you got out of that. Okay, cool. All right, we're going to take this to the second level.
Right.
I'm going to show you how to use the Force now. I was like, dude.
Yeah.
When he fucking started throwing the room at him, I'm like,
yeah.
yep.
That was next
like,
level.
Do
Like,
that? I
yeah,
didn't know you could do
right,
that.
exactly.
Cheating.
It was like, dude, he's cheating. Like,
right, it's
no,
like-
he's not.
It's like you are way out of your depth, kid.
Right.
You are just dude. It's like that. I love that whole fight.
That whole fight was just great.
And he came back mad at him.
Yeah.
That's what I loved. He came back heated.
Mhm.
Was just going crazy, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
He went from calm to overpowering to rage, and it was just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Especially when he got him out. Especially when he got him out on the catwalk, and
Yeah.
he just grazed him, with a kind of a glancing lucky blow. Vader was like, "Oh fuck this, dude! I'm
Yep. Hannah Omega is 100% right. He's
Yeah.
like, why didn't Yoda teach me this? It's like, because you left early.
exactly,
Exactly.
exactly. No, yeah, absolutely. No, this was the fight that made my childhood, because it was like, I think I didn't really fall in love with Star Wars until I watched Empire Strikes Back.
I grew up never seeing Empire Strikes Back because my dad had A New Hope and he had Return of the Jedi, and I don't know why he didn't have.
How?
Don't ask me. So
How?
I watched The New Hope, and then I watched Return of the Jedi. I'm thinking, I was like, what
the hell
heck
happened?
Like, why is he
What?
frozen in carbonite? What is going on?
And why is his lightsaber green?
Yeah, I was
And-
like,
Yep.
I didn't see Empire Strikes Back till a lot later, so it was kind of.
But here's the interesting thing though. Hand of Omega, that is interesting, is like Vader can turn his breathing off to sneak up. He probably can. He probably has some control over that. But I thought it was really, I don't know. Empire Strikes Back, because when I was a kid, I hated Yoda because Yoda was annoying to me.
Yeah.
So I would always skip past the Yoda parts. I literally would skip past the Yoda parts. I didn't care. I was just like, give me the asteroid field. Give me the battle on Hoth. Give me the asteroid field. Give me
Skip all past
right.
Dagobah.
Yeah,
Give me the
I
Cloud
don't care.
City.
Yeah, give me Cloud City.
Give me the Cloud City.
and then
And I'm good.
Yeah. But Yoda's parts were
Yeah.
so annoying to me. Now, obviously, I got more of a respect for him later in
Obviously.
life. But
Yeah.
as a kid, Yoda was annoying. It's like, you stingy
Oh, you-
motherfucker.
Right. It's like, just tell him. Just tell him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hated his
All right. So what was number 3?
Number 3 is a fight I do not remember at all because it's been such a long time. No, it's not been a long time ago. But no, I don't remember this at all. No, what am I talking about? I remember it completely. What's wrong with me?
Just say it.
Ahsoka versus Darth Vader.
How do you forget that?
I
It was
didn't.
only like a couple of years ago.
In Star Wars Rebels.
In Rebels.
I
Yeah.
didn't forget it at all.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
I remember it all. And I think that one was kind of cool because, even though we didn't see much of Ahsoka in the later seasons of Clone Wars, they made that up with the last season.
They did.
Very well. But just seeing that fight before seeing that end is kind of even more tragic what's going on because you see Anakin give Ahsoka her new lightsabers, have all this stuff, the 501st.
Yeah, and it just adds this extra layer.
it adds all that stuff to it.
Yeah.
So when you see that fight again, it's just like, man.
Yeah.
And it was nobody that can pull him back.
Right.
Not even her. Maybe if she was around and happened to say a few things before that whole thing, maybe. But it's just like, man, this right here. So that was a really good fight.
Right, and and obviously we'll talk about that a little bit. But to your point, right? The other thing that I guess that also helped, especially I wrote a piece about Ahsoka, and that's going to come out tomorrow on CultureJunkies.net, 12 o'clock. So look forward to that. But one of the things that kind of helped Rebels along, because like even when you think about Rebels as a show, the first season was it was okay, but it was kind of struggling. And then as soon as you get to the end, you're like, okay, who is this Fulcrum? And then Fulcrum was revealed as Ahsoka, and you're like, holy shit!
Yeah.
I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, Ahsoka's alive?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And so then you get to what's she been doing all this time? And then how's she gonna react when she realizes that Anakin is Vader? Like, what is that? And then you get it in the first few, in the second season, and you're just like, and then of course James Earl Jones comes back as Vader in the second season. It's like, dude, it was just
It
was just
been
awesome.
Doing so much good stuff with the side stories. It's a shame that those last 3 movies, even though I don't think they're trash as a lot of people do, they just didn't keep that same level of character development and all that other stuff, which I think they could have, even though
Sure.
they're short movies.
Like I said, I think if
Yes.
Abrams would have stuck through all three of them, they could have.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson threw too much
Yeah.
stuff away in the middle. The second one trying to be cute.
Right.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
but one of the things I think that I guess Lucasfilm is starting to understand now with the success
Oh, Damon
of
Flavor's trash.
Mandalorian and the last season of Rebels and stuff like that. The thing is, they need to have a more tight ship, like similar to where Marvel Studios is getting to the point now.
To your
Like,
point-
they need to run a much tighter ship.
Dave
your
Filoni.
So
point-
it's like,
Thank you. I was just
And-
getting ready to say that.
and-
Dave Filoni needs to be
and
running the show.
Favreau.
And Favreau.
Them together
Yeah,
Yeah.
should
two
be
of them,
running
right.
the show for
They should be running the
all
show.
Star Wars.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, a lot of people have been making bones about Kathleen Kennedy needs to be fired. I've never been on that boat, but seeing what Filoni has done with Clone Wars for 7 seasons, what he did for Rebels for 3 seasons, and even his limited involvement with The Mandalorian with Favreau, it's like, okay, this dude knows and loves Star Wars. He gets it. Everything that he's touched Star Wars related has been gold. Let him run the show. Like literally, just give it to him.
I want to see what Taika Waititi does with his Star Wars movie.
Agree.
Yeah. I
agree.
like this
Yeah.
one too.
Yeah. All right, what's the movie at
Number
two?
2, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Maul.
Darth Maul.
Yeah.
That was
still-
really good because that
Yeah.
got me off my seat.
It's
when
up
I was
there.
originally
It's up
seeing
there.
it. Yeah, big time. I really enjoyed
So we're
that
talking
one.
Phantom Menace, right?
The
Yep.
Phantom
Yep.
Menace,
Phantom
which
Menace,
everybody
Duel-
out there
Duel
is
of the
also
Fates.
trash.
The
I think
infamous
I liked it.
Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
Well,
I like the movie. I don't give a
Phantom
shit.
Menace is okay. And I even said it in my review of the entire Star Wars saga a couple of weeks back. Phantom Menace's main problem was this too much politics, too much talking.
Agreed.
I don't mind
Especially
universe.
especially the middle part when they
Yeah.
first went to Coruscant.
Yeah. It's like I
that's
don't
boring
mind.
as hell.
Right.
Like,
It's
what
like
was
I
that?
don't mind universe building.
Right.
But like if you gonna sit here, because like okay, I remember when we all went to go see it originally, it was just like, oh sweet, lightsabers within the first 5 minutes. Let's go. And
And the
Qui-Gon-
way they were using
yeah,
them
the way they
too.
were doing new stuff, and it was
Yeah.
like, okay, sweet. And then
Yeah.
we get to Naboo, and it's like.
Jar Jar Binks.
It's like Jar Jar, and even the Jar Jar, and it's like whatever. I hated Jar Jar like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But I could tolerate him at least because it's like, okay, I just got to sit through this and I can get to some more lightsaber parts. And yes, we get a little bit more lightsaber parts. Then, like you said, we get the Coruscant. It's just like slow everything to a crawl. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, this is
Absolute slow burn.
insane. Right. And then we finally get back to Naboo and then you get this lovely lightsaber fight. And I love all of the setup for it because the setup for it was like, and I think part of the reason the movie was so slow was to get you to this point of like anticipation of like, when are they going to freaking have this damn fight? And I always will say this every single time we talk about this movie. We should have never known it was a double-bladed lightsaber.
Absolutely.
At all. It should have just been like, how is he going to fend off 2 of them? And he just pulls out the second
Right.
side. That would have been sweet. But I just love how the whole thing of just like, the whole army is charging this door, and one guy is standing behind the door, and everybody's like, we'll go the long way. It's like,
Yeah.
dude,
Right.
Don't go
It's
this
like
way.
that
Padme
setup
was
to
like, yeah,
me-
we'll go the long way.
Like that setup to me was just so great. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they know better. And then it was just like, we'll handle this. It was like, yep. And just the way that whole fight starts is amazing. And the choreography in that fight,
Immaculate.
it to a point,
Yeah.
because there's actually a video that breaks down that like realistically nobody was actually fighting to kill. They were just fighting to
Just show
Show
off.
to show off. So it's just like, but at the same time, when we saw it, it was like, dude, we've never seen lightsaber battles like this.
Right.
This is freaking.
First
It was
Yeah.
incredible.
time
That was
ever.
Yeah, it was
freaking
really good.
awesome.
You're right. All right, and obviously number one
Number
is...
1 is Obi-Wan versus Anakin and Revenge of the Sith.
Now, see, to me,
Okay.
this is absolutely the quintessential best lightsaber duel I've ever seen. Because, like,
it's very
between,
grand.
like, because of the height or the tension between the two of them, everybody's been we've heard about the fall of Anakin Skywalker since we were kids, right? And then to actually see it play out visually on the screen, and then he's getting confronted by Obi-Wan. Anakin in the height of his powers, just newly minted as a Sith, as Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan's dealing with the heartbreak of trying to pull his best friend back from the precipice, and he has to go all out, not only trying to defend Padme, but basically defend his life and not kill his friend if he can maybe pull him back.
Yeah.
But Anakin's just like, no, fuck it, I'm killing you. That's it. I'm done
So-
with the Jedi.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Like the only thing I could say is I think I over the years I probably become like one of the people that's been a little bit more critical of this lightsaber battle.
What?
Not saying that not saying that it wasn't cool. Don't get me wrong.
Uh-huh.
Like it's cool, but it's just like you ever like see something that appears to be just something that's a little too well choreographed, like in hindsight, and it's like it's
Okay.
almost to the point where it's like you kind of look at it and then it's kind of like you almost see, you know how like a dancer's breaking down all the steps, like that's
Yeah.
kind of how I look at it now. It's like one
Okay.
and two and
And
three
and,
and
and I
four,
know the
one
one
and
part,
two, and it's
especially the one part that you're talking about, I think, is the one where Anakin and Obi-Wan were basically standing in front of each other, swinging their sabers around for like
Right.
5 seconds before they struck each other. Right?
Yeah,
It was
like
it was cool
it's
as hell to
yeah,
see, but you're just like,
yeah,
okay,
this
really?
this lightsaber is cool, but it's like looking at it, it's just like this is a little too, this is too choreographed.
Okay.
You know, and it's like it's just something that
Okay.
like it's cool, but like it's to the point where it's just like
Here's
it's kind of like that,
why,
and then of
here's
course
why that
leading up
came
to
off
that
across
with the
that way.
strife, like I felt it was a little rushed at that point with the whole like strife between him and like Obi-Wan and all. Like,
You felt
granted,
like it
I
was
understand
rushed?
it was supposed to be a fall, but it's like because you got to think about it. It's like
It did seem
I
sudden.
get like
I'll give you that.
it felt very sudden to the way it's like, oh, now it's like this whole like animosity between him and Obi-Wan when they were just cool like almost a half hour ago.
Well,
You know, it's
again,
just like
that part of the story was very rushed. But going back to what you're saying
yeah.
about them swinging the sabers, there's actually a reason behind that. But when you have two actors that were trained to do it just for a particular scene, it doesn't come across the same way as if you had two sword masters doing it and doing that exact
Yeah.
same thing. Because really, what they were doing, it was essentially, it was obviously for the visual of the flare and the fluttering and all that. But realistically, a lot of that was feints. It was like, okay, am I about to strike? No, I'm not. Am I about to strike? No, I'm not. And it's whoever breaks first, you've just committed. Now I can get around and hit you. That was the whole thing behind
Yeah.
that. But again, you got two guys that are just actors just trying to do it. If you had two like super high level swordsmen doing that, that would have looked way more amazing than it actually was. So that's part of what you're running into. And again, yes, it comes off very choreographed because it, obviously it was choreographed, but
Right.
but literally, what they were trying to demonstrate with that, and like again, they kind of held on that shot too long, was these guys know each other so well. So it's like you're gonna swing, and I'm gonna swing at the exact same time, and we're gonna basically clash. No matter how many fakes you throw out, I know when you're gonna really truly swing and commit, and that's what they were trying to get at. But again,
Which is
it's
fine.
two actors. So
Now, out of the chat, Hannah Omega brings up something, and like in the list, and I know you guys have we haven't revealed the entire list to you, and we're probably not going to, but he says in our list, in our poll, the top 10 lightsaber battles of all time, not a single one of them came from the sequel trilogy. And he's like, and he brings up a good point. In my opinion, none of the sequel trilogy lightsaber fights hold up, but which is the best of the three that we had in those films. And okay, and it's tough to put because Kylo Ren was more. He was just more brute force. He wasn't really finesse or anything like that. Rey was too raw until the last movie to really say she was. Well, actually, no, till halfway through the second movie. That
it was
that
just
she
them
really
two.
good. It was just those
Well,
two.
I
They
mean,
were the only ones that
the fight
doing
with him
lightsaber
and
battles
Ray
throughout
against the
3
Red
movies.
Guard, I think
The
was,
Praetorian
should
Guard,
probably
that's
go,
cool,
but
but that's
yeah.
not even. You can't even say that's a duel. That's more of them teaming up
True,
to fight,
true.
other people. So
You're right.
yeah.
You're right.
well,
So
and that's kind of the issue. There really weren't any
Exactly.
lightsaber duels. I mean, there were, but
the
there
one
weren't.
on the Death Star and Endor and
Well, the
three.
one on the Death, the one on the Death Star remains was like, you have what I want, give it to me, and I'm just gonna keep swinging at you till I get it. That was that. So I don't consider that a duel. The whole, duel through the Force, basically, when they're having a lightsaber battle from she's in the ship and he's on the planet. It's like, okay, that was creative, but it wasn't a really special lightsaber duel. Wasn't nothing great about it.
Exactly.
So it's just like, realistically, the sequel trilogy, the only thing that it gave to us from a lightsaber standpoint was a new style of lightsaber that actually sounded angry, which I liked. And Kylo Ren can freeze blaster bolts with the Force. Like
Yeah.
that was literally the
Yeah.
only like great like wow moment out of
Exactly.
anything
Right.
Force related or even Jedi Sith related in that, because everything else was like, okay, Finn can't fight him. We've seen this. Now he held his own for
He
like
tried.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
And he lost. And then of course Rey, once she gave herself to the Force, beat him, but it didn't look convincing. It was
At
just
all.
like
It was just like, this is
Right.
all of a sudden.
It's like,
It's like,
okay,
oh, you're
here
going to
you
close
go.
your eyes, you're going to feel the Force, and now all of a sudden you can beat this guy? Really? No,
Yeah.
it was
She's
just
that powerful.
that was
in the
just a
Force.
little bit too much even for me. You know, that was just like
that
eh.
powerful. Because
Yeah.
her goddamn grandfather mapped
It's a
out
Palpatine.
50 years of
Now-
exactly
Yeah,
what I would do.
I mean,
Now, he was
granted,
saying-
if we think of the same thing with Luke Skywalker in New Hope, I mean, this man guided like a whole, like, what was it? Whatever blaster missile thing or whatever. Like, he literally guided that in like the heart of the Death Star on
Hey,
his
he
first
used to
try.
bullseye womp rats in his T-16
Yeah,
back home,
exactly.
buddy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
All
the only reason
present.
he was bullseyeing Womp Rat is because he had the Force with him and he didn't even know it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, and again, they never explain why those missiles suddenly curved down. That's the only
The
thing.
Force pushed him down, dude.
It was the Force,
but it
man.
Doesn't make any sense.
Or maybe
He
he
used
hit
the Force.
gravity and his gravity right
Well,
there. It just
they
pulls
said
him down.
they said the shaft is ray shielded, but it's like ray shield doesn't mean that it's gonna suddenly like drag it in.
Exactly.
To me, and here's the other thing. Why do you have to skim the surface to that point? If you know that point is there, come straight down and dive bomb that damn thing.
Right. Exactly.
That's what always
It-
made me
it
sick
wasn't-
about, even as a kid.
It wasn't
like,
dramatic enough.
Right.
No, again, it's not dramatic, and I completely understand it from a movie standpoint. I get it, but I'm like, dude, from a tactical standpoint, if
It's
you know that's
stupid.
where you got to hit,
Right. Just go there.
go right there.
And how many wave after wave after waves of X-Wings did they have? Did you even try
Right.
that? Come on.
Well, in the original movie, it was about 4. It seems. And of course, in the special edition, we got like that whole.
Yeah,
But again,
that's true.
That
Yeah,
is
that's
the one
right.
thing that I will give
Yeah.
Lucas all the credit for. The stuff he added in special edition,
Yeah.
some of it was perfect. Because like seeing an entire like fleet of X-wings,
That was
you know,
cool.
coming off of Yavin, that looks sweet.
That was
but
cool.
Ewoks don't need to blink. They just don't.
Although
That I
you
hate
could
that. I
you
still
could
hate
make
that.
the argument that seeing only somewhat like 4 to 6 different X-Wings and they're going up against this super huge space station kind of increased the odds. You're like, wow, how did they actually manage to make it? Like, you had this little. Like, they must have been exceptional pilots because the Empire was throwing wave after wave of ties after them, and they managed to survive. They only had like 6 X-Wings. Anyway, I
Okay,
digress.
hold on.
I
Let me
digress.
let me go ahead and correct Hand real quick.
Yeah.
You're talking about the guns would have shot them down. No, that's not how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
There was about 20 guns, some on the towers, some on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
They constantly even said, and Vader brought it to their attention, if we will have to destroy them ship to ship because the turbo lasers cannot bullseye them because they're too
They're
small.
too small.
So go back
Right.
and watch your movie, sir.
Exactly. And not only that, there were still turbo lasers even in the trench anyway.
Right. And
You know,
those stopped
so-
firing once. They
They
was
sure
like, oh,
did.
wait, Vader's in the shaft. We better stop.
Right.
shooting. Could you imagine if one of them hit Vader? Could you imagine the shitstorm that would follow if
Yeah.
you were the guy operating the turbo laser that
Like,
shot Vader down?
Who the fuck shot me? Who shot me?
Dude,
like, I want
dude,
him right here, right now.
If that was me, I would just like, dude, I'd be like, look, I'm dropping my keyboard, taking my hat off. I'm
like, oh,
getting on the
I
first
saw
transport I can
Vader.
find.
Right.
Because, like, nah, dude. Like,
So-
hell no.
Yeah.
Before we move on, what were your guys' personal favorite?
My personal, and I'm glad you asked that because honestly, I was going to ask which were the ones that weren't in the top 5 were the ones that you liked the most, or to me, one I want to bring up right is Obi-Wan and Adi Gallia versus Savage Opress and Darth Maul. The reason that one was really good is because some people may or may not know Adi Gallia was kind of somewhat Obi-Wan's girlfriend,
Yeah,
kind
he was
of.
banging her.
Yeah. I was trying not to. I mean, come on, he's a monk. I mean,
No,
they don't
they
do
never
that.
said that they can't have sex. They just said you can't form attachments.
Yep, no attachments.
Okay, fine. All right, you want to be technical like that? Sure. But anyway, so they're on this mission, and Savage and Maul are going at Obi-Wan and Adi Gallia. Savage gets gets into a duel with Adi Gallia, and Obi-Wan's fighting Maul. Savage corners her. She kind of slips up. Savage kills her, and that leaves Obi-Wan by himself to face the two of them. He grabs her saber. The only time you've ever really seen Obi-Wan doing dual wielding, right? And just the tenacity that he had, and especially towards the end of the fight, when he basically fucking just kept kicking Savage's leg and took him out at the end. was actually really cool because by the end, Obi-Wan had cut off one of Savage's arms, which was really
That's
cool.
Obi-Wan
But
does
it was
a lot.
really good.
He be taking limbs.
Yeah, dude. No, he does. No, but it just, I guess it made it, that one fight and other fights in Clone Wars kind of just let you know that Obi-Wan was really, really freaking good with a lightsaber, man.
Yep, and
He's-
that's why I will always go to my favorite. I also saw that King to King, as well as other people on the internet. Mine is Darth Maul Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 2 to the end.
I'm sorry, that wasn't on the list.
I know it wasn't on the
I'm
list.
sorry, that wasn't on the list.
Because we didn't put that on the list because you have some kind of bias
I don't
to
have a
it.
bias.
You have the bias because it's too short. You don't call it a duel.
It's not a duel.
That had the biggest buildup of any friggin' duel in all of Star Wars.
And what makes you think it's not a duel?
All of Star Wars.
It's not really much of a duel. It's a
is-
one-sided.
no,
It's a one-sided
it's a
beatdown.
duel because one person went into it, and just how you said, Vader said, "I'm going to show you I'm over here, and I'm over here." Maul jumped into that thing like, "I'm going to do the exact same thing I did to your master to kill him." He did the exact same thing, and Obi-Wan was not having it. It was like, "Man, I've seen this before." But blah. And like the build-up, the tension, Obi-Wan, like watching that video I saw, keeping his cool until he was like, "Oh yeah, oh you're here to protect somebody." He was like, "Well, now you got it. I was not gonna fuck with you. Now you gotta go.
Right.
You gotta go because nobody's supposed to know I'm here. Nobody's supposed to know he here. You're not leaving this. You're not leaving this place alive."
Right.
And that Obi-Wan did that without saying a fucking word. That right there to me, like I said, the tension, the build-up, the years of Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. From the beginning as him as a Padawan, the first person to defeat a Sith, to
all the way up to him being a
sorry,
master.
dude, that is the greatest duel.
And not
of
only
all
that,
Star
it's like, how
Wars.
can you say it's not a duel? Like, what you think the OK Corral and all that stuff isn't a duel?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
it's
because
over-
at least there was a back and forth. I didn't say it wasn't.
not
a-
back
No,
and
it's
forth.
not back and forth. I'm talking about like when they used to have like we gonna go out and duel with pistols, high noon. You usually be one shot, and that's all.
That's a duel. That's what duels were back in
Exactly.
the day.
So-
Slap you with my freaking glove.
Right. So to say that's not a duel is like, come on, dude.
It's okay.
Exactly.
It's a
Oh,
duel.
Hand of
it's
Omega.
less
A
of
duel doesn't have to
more
be
of a
long to
one-sided
count.
beatdown.
It doesn't have to be long to
I
count.
didn't say that it had to be long. Okay, it doesn't have to be long to count. But for me, a lot of people go to duels, or they view these duels, and a lot of them, when they go to watch them, they're going there to be entertained.
Hey, I
5
understand.
seconds,
Dude,
done.
I was. I'm
it's
telling
over
you,
with.
I was highly entertained by that. It was quick. It was 3 shots. It was a buildup, bro. From I don't know how many years for us, for them. That was like a 30-year buildup or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
It's
Or at least
it's
20,
just
at
to
least
me
20.
it was like the best I've had.
At least, yeah. It's that. Like, I think if you really think about it, from the time he was a Padawan up until their last duel, like that had to have been like at least 35, 40 years.
Yeah.
Right, and not only that, you have to remember the Jedi and Sith are pulled from samurai legend and lore. That's where that's where the sword fighting and all that sort of technique comes from. And it was always known that there was the guy that Mitsurugi was based on would beat people with a bokken, not even an actual sword. He would beat people with a bokken with one strike. So that's like highest level skill. So that's what that represented. That because again, you could have all that motion and all that. Well, yeah, we could run around the desert and all that and be chasing each other all day. Or I'm a master now. I don't have to do all that no more. I don't need to. And what I loved is he respected him after he cut him down and still like respected him and didn't. I don't know if he buried him or whatever, but he at least gave him that last moment of like calm or whatever. I thought that was like, again, that's on my top list too.
Yeah. Dude,
Again,
that to me
I
is
always
just number
love
one.
lightsaber duels and all the flash and flare, but I completely understood why that particular scene was. Because I remember when you first told me about it, because you saw it before I saw it, and I was just like, that sounds interesting. It sounds like they're going back to like the old like samurai type deal. And when I saw it, I was like, yep, that's exactly what they pulled. And it was just like, yeah,
Right.
that's
someone
I
in
really
get
well done.
I get chills, not chills. What do you call it? Goosebumps or whatever. Every
Yeah.
time I think of that, it's just like, holy crap! Just
Right.
Let
And
me
handle-
freaking do his young stuff. He was like, wait a minute, I'm not that young.
Yeah, because he
kid
even started
anymore.
off with, like you said, he started off
Right.
in his older style. Like, fingers out, you know, and it was
And
like,
he
nah,
was like,
dude.
then he switched it up and was like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't
And
need that
he
one.
had him figured, and Maul was, like you said, was very one tracked about it. Was like, I'm gonna do exactly what I did. It's like, it didn't work the last time, dude. So you might want to be ready for something different. It's been a while. So I thought that was
Yeah,
cool.
and
Like you said, the
and
build up was
Handle
amazing.
Omega in the chat said none of us mentioned any Dooku duels.
Now,
Yeah.
there was some Dooku duels in the list, and a couple of them actually there was one other I wanted to bring up. There was two others I wanted to bring up. One of the Dooku ones was Asajj Ventress and Savage Opress versus Count Dooku. And it was a three-way. It was basically a three-way. It ended up as a three-way. It didn't start as a three-way. At first, it was the two of them against against Dooku, and then eventually Ventress had to hold her own. And then I think she had put Savage under a Night Sister spell, and then he started to break it and started to attack her too. But Dooku was just manhandling the both of them, and he was doing it effortlessly.
Dooku was always a really good character, especially from the way they wrote him
In the
from
Clone
the
Wars.
comics, from the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the movies, they weren't going to get any of that out of him, and it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
And it's like, I get it, but yeah, Dooku in the Clone Wars, man, that's where they really opened up and showed what he's actually capable of, and showed that he's like, you know, one of the best Jedi duelists of all time. And
Yeah,
we just didn't
you
get,
know what's kind of
yeah.
crazy is that I think I think like in comparison, especially like from like the first Clone Wars animated series versus the 3D one, like I think they did I think they sort of watered down like Grievous a bit, because like none of it, I don't remember like any really memorable
I
lightsaber
always
battles
felt
between
like Grievous was way overhyped in the first place. I
Well,
never really thought
nah,
he was that big of a deal.
Here's where they went wrong with Grievous. We got to see Grievous in that CW cartoon. I'm sorry, not CW.
The Cartoon Network.
It was
Yeah.
Cartoon
Kennedy
Network.
Tartakovsky.
That's what I'm
That
saying. 'cause
raised
he was
that
dope.
bar
It did.
of like, oh hell no. And it was
Right.
like, and I think is it Gendy Tartakovsky? I believe is his
Yeah,
name.
Kennedy Tartakovsky.
Yeah, he raised the bar so high. It's like when he killed, a Padawan Shaggy and all the other stuff that was just going on in that. It was just like, I cannot wait to see what they do with this, because he's a fully digital character in the movie, and they didn't even go that route. It's like they were
Nope.
like, yeah,
Nope.
he's got the 4 arms,
Yeah.
and Obi-Wan's gonna fight him. I'm like, dude, in the book,
And it really wasn't much of a fight when you think about it.
right,
It was
because in the
just-
book, that fight was like literally when he started spinning the lightsabers like he did in the movie, they were like, okay, Obi-Wan is blocking about 20 strikes per second. In the book, they were like, he's like Grievous is like, okay, 20 ain't enough. I'm gonna ramp it up to 40. Then he ramped it up to 80. Then he went up to like 120 strikes a second, and Obi-Wan was still blocking it all. I'm like, okay, granted, that might not look great on film,
Right.
but you could have at least tried to
Yeah,
get some of
could
that,
have tried
because the description of that fight in the book versus what you see in the movie is just it's like night and day, man.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
The
bro.
other one I was going to bring up is actually one that Hannah Omega just mentioned. Like, so the one that I thought was just unbelievably cool, because in Clone Wars we got to see him actually do some work. It was Sidious versus Maul and Savage Opress on Mandalore.
Yeah, that
Dude,
was-
Yeah,
that shit was
yeah.
ridiculous,
And
dude.
and Grievous, I'm not Grievous. Sidious actually dual wielded in that fight.
He did.
I love the way he did it, because he started off with one.
One, yeah.
They both show up. He's like, all right, frick, Kloom, just
Yeah.
brings out another saber. I'm
I was like,
like,
dude, he's doing dual saber. He was like, what? He was like, yeah, this is
handling
great.
him, dog.
Yeah, and dude, the way he just manhandled him, killed Savage, mind you, and then just
Right.
like completely just dismissed Maul. Was like, the Sith rule of tool exists because there's always only two, a master and apprentice. You're no longer my apprentice. You're nothing. Basically,
yeah.
it just dismissed.
Yeah,
him. I
Sidious was really well
damn.
done. Clone Wars, the cartoon did an amazing
They
job
did.
filling in all of that lore and all of the gaps and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's
Made
just
the
like,
prequels a lot
Yeah.
better.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because that's a perfect
Well, there you
segue
go.
into the main event.
the main event.
All right, so the main event is all about the Clone Wars retrospective. So let's throw it all the way back. We talked a lot about these lightsaber duels, but let's just talk about the Clone Wars as a complete piece, starting from the first what was thinking it was like an hour and a half movie that we
It was
had.
a movie in a theater.
Yeah, it was
We went
the
to
hour
go
and a
see
half
that in a
movie in the
theater.
theater. Yeah, I remember I took my daughter, my eldest daughter, who's she was how old was Brianna at the time? She was 3 years old at the time when
God.
Clone Wars came out. She's
Oh, so
21 now.
you don't want to be taking babies to the movies.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was made for her. It was like a little kid's movie. So
Yeah.
no, she wasn't 3 years old. I think she was more like 5. She was more like 5 years old,
Yeah,
but still.
nice way to clean it up.
Yeah, no, she was more like 5, but still. It was a long time ago, and it was the first time that we ever got
In
to
a galaxy
see.
far, far away, or
Yeah,
a movie
yeah,
theater.
something like
Movie
that.
theater
Yeah,
far, far away.
yeah, something like that. But it was the first time that we ran across the notion that Anakin Skywalker, who to our eyes, just made Jedi Knight, and then he's gonna get a Padawan that we've never heard of before, named Ahsoka Tano, and she's a girl, and she's Togrutan, So, what were your thoughts of the Clone Wars when it first came out, when it was first conceptualized as not only just a movie but even a weekly series? What was kind of your thoughts of that?
I liked the idea of it. I liked the presentation of that particular movie. They presented it as if you were watching one of those old radio shows or radio serials, essentially. Real quick, I guess King Takeem is asking if we're going to include the Cartoon Network shorts.
Sure, why not?
All right, that's fair.
Even though they don't, I mean, technically
They're
they
not canon
were,
no more.
yeah, they
It's
were
not
they were
canon
part of the
anymore.
Disney purge.
Yeah,
So technically we shouldn't. Although there was a lot of really good stuff in those shorts that
there was.
we could still just talk about Clone Wars as entirety.
We can
So,
fold it in.
all right,
But
go
yeah,
ahead.
going back to that movie though,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the. I guess it was like, obviously it was an introduction to the visual style because, and like, he had mentioned, I was a huge fan of the Cartoon Network ones because I just love how they were just pure action and just like straight to the point, like get it done.
We did hate that they were only like 15 minutes long at the time.
Were they? I thought they were.
Nah,
like
they were shorter
5
than that. They were
minutes.
like
Yeah,
5 minutes long. They were
Yeah, they
short,
were
short.
like
5 minutes
they
long?
were
I thought they
short.
were 15 for
The
some
Grievous episode was a double length episode, and that was only like 10
10
minutes.
minutes? Okay.
Yeah. So I love how they they presented those, but like this was obviously a new take on it. The CGI, the CG style of the look. I like the story they were telling up to a point. I like how it started off.
The whole Christophsis thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when they started off on planet and they were, attacking and get to see that Ahsoka's actually got some ingenuity and she's actually kind of, she's a fighter.
And I loved
basically.
her style.
Yeah.
Her style, the way she held her sabers, I was like, oh,
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah.
It's like I've never seen people, basically hold them backwards, two hand. She was basically
Right.
she had a Nigata and what was it? Kadashi blade.
Yeah. She had a Kadashi.
Yeah, I think you can say that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like just the way that she held hers, almost like straight up Kunoichi style. We had never seen any other Jedi do that, so I
Not
thought that
really.
was kind of cool.
Yep.
So, but go ahead
Yeah.
with your thought. I think to segue to what you're saying, the way it started on Christophsis, I think was cool. Where they lost me was when they went into the whole we need you to find Jabba's son.
or
And I was just like-
or nephew or whatever.
Yeah,
the heck
and
it
I was just Jabba's nephew, and I was just like.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? It's like this is what you're gonna do after you have this whole Christophsis thing.
Mhm.
This is what you're gonna do. Nah, I'm good on that. So for me, the movie, I thought Ahsoka was kind of annoying at first. I like literally I did. I thought she was annoying. I didn't necessarily think she was going to matter much as a character. It especially the second half of the mission say, hey, Padawan, I need you to go and rescue Jabba's son. I'm like, fuck, like. Come on, man! It's like no. Where's Anakin and Obi-Wan? I wanted to see that. Like I thought the show or in this movie was going to be about them, not this girl that I had no connection to. Like what is this? What were your thoughts, Dido?
Well, I only watched it once in the theater, and at that time,
Have you ever seen it again since then?
I got to sit down. I wasn't really impressed with it. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
I really tried to get into it because, like you said, my expectations were more Anakin, more Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we weren't getting that. And we were getting a lot of crazy sides, stories. But in that
Yeah.
specific movie, it was, and going off of what I remember, it just didn't. It didn't feel important. It just kind of felt like I sat here and watched this. I'm pretty sure if I go back and watch it now, I'm probably going to have a lot more love and respect for it because of all the stuff that they did since Clone Wars came out in 2008.
And literally, I think I'm going to go on it because my youngest daughter is just now starting to get into Clone Wars. Like she just finished. Like she's seen Rebels. She
boy.
knows who Ahsoka is,
Yeah.
but she didn't see her beginning and where she came from basically. So she started watching the movie, and I think with her, I'm gonna start doing a watch through of Clone Wars, on Disney Plus. Even though Disney Plus doesn't even have all the episodes.
How
yet,
did they
still.
not have all the episodes?
They don't. They have like all the episodes from the early seasons, but some seasons still only have like 8 episodes. They don't have them all yet.
That doesn't make.
They haven't.
sense.
I don't know what. I don't know.
I don't know. I think for some reason, like I've noticed, like a couple other things, like with other shows and movies or whatever. Like I think, like there's something licensing wise that they
I
have to
hate
like.
that.
Yeah,
get
I hate
through
that
with
too.
it or something.
Crap.
I don't know why, but I don't know. I find that kind of weird.
Yeah. So, what were your thoughts of Clone Wars when it, the movie when it first came out? Fallen.
Well, I was working in Hollywood Video when it came out, so I saw it when it came out on home video and watched it then. And I can't really say that I was all that impressed with it.
Right.
Like I just fairly remember it. It was like okay, it looked okay. Story really wasn't that interesting to me. Like the whole thing with like Anakin having a Padawan, I'm like, oh, this is different from what I've known previously, because up to this point we've never knew if he ever trained anyone else or whatever, because
Exactly.
I mean, of course you had video games and stuff or whatever, but of course none of that stuff is canon now, but whatever. So it's like, okay, that concept of it was cool. And then eventually the series came out. I think I only watched most of it in hindsight. I think like I didn't start watching the series until like it was on maybe like season maybe 5 or 6, when it was like at that
That's
point
when it
I didn't
started
start
getting really good.
like
That's when it started getting really, really good.
right.
me.
That's when I actually started watching the series, and it was like, okay, this series is actually kind of cool. And
Right.
then I had to revisit it because then I found out the series weren't told in order timeline wise. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
that bothered me.
Yeah,
then
that was
I'm
the
like-
other thing that I didn't even realize it at the time. Like,
Then I was like-
they're telling these stories
Right.
in order. What is this?
right. And I had to like go back and watch it again. I'm like, okay, now I have to go back and watch this in chronological order for some of
Right.
the stuff to make a little bit more sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, as the series progressed, it got better and better. And I think overall it's a really solid show. I mean, it definitely
Mhm.
has some low points.
It did.
Even the most recent season, like as much as we like how it concluded, like even the recent season has some low points.
It
So,
did. No, you're absolutely right about that. I think one of the problems with the earlier seasons, I think, was just that I think even back in 2008, the notion of doing a full CGI 30-minute, television program, I think the CGI was still kind of rough in some areas. Some of the designs really weren't all that good either. And I think they were still trying to find the writers' room was still trying to find their legs. I think in some regards, because I'm just gonna be straight out. Every single episode that had Jar Jar in it, I skipped it. Like every single one. Like without question, I was like, I see Jar Jar, I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm checked out. No, he was he was the focal point of a couple of episodes. Like, and I was just like, nah, dude, that's not what I signed up for. I'm not here to watch Jar Jar Binks. Sorry.
he was, but I personally I didn't find him as annoying in the show as you would the movies.
I didn't even give him a chance. So
But
I have to take your word for it.
I know the vitriol that Jar Jar has had since Phantom Menace. I get it. But I just think like since it was like a show that was like more or less designated for kids when it first started, then as it went on, like they started kind of like matured a bit more. And it was just like, okay, I guess like in this setting, it makes a little bit more sense. Like me personally, I wasn't a fan of the character, but I didn't hate him like a lot of other people did. But I mean, I get it. Like again, it's just one of those things where like those stories weren't necessarily like it wasn't like a really important part of the storytelling
Yeah, they were
outside of
filler
just showing like
episodes.
some extra
Yeah.
stuff that
there was a lot of filler
just
episodes.
right.
But I think the other part, and I think you brought this up in regards to the Phantom Menace, is that there was a lot of episodes that got really overly political. And I think that kind of dragged the show down in a lot of ways. Like, what were some of your memories of the earlier seasons of Clone Wars that you can recall? Would you feel about it as it was going on?
I mean, like you said, as it started off, they were trying to figure out what story they're gonna tell, what little parts of the lore I guess they were gonna expand upon, and yeah, I mean, a lot of those episodes. Yes, it's funny to call them episodic because they really weren't.
No,
I mean,
they
they
weren't.
still had an overall story they were telling, but they were like little slices of a day in the life of. And I think what Clone Wars really was able to do was give you more insight on the clones themselves. And I think those episodes are what I really enjoyed. Like when they would, dig into, like, example, the episode with Fives, like the one guy that was just basically kind of like, he just could not seem to get it, like as far as the drills and the stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you're a clone. You're
Right,
a clone.
you're supposed to be
it's
perfect.
Like, it's like you're already supposed to be able to do this
Right,
stuff.
you're perfect.
And I love
copies,
how they told the story and explained, and then later on down the line, they bring him back, and you get to see him in his full armor doing what he's supposed to do, and it's just like, okay, I see how they're playing the long game. And you had Rex and Cody, like those two characters were freaking awesome.
They really shined in that series. Rex and Cody did. I mean, like, but even to your point, some of the other episodes that I remember of Clone Wars, especially the one episode that I remember and it was early in the season. It was early in the show, excuse me, where the one clone had basically sold them out and was saying, "I'm turning traitor. I'm tired of fighting this war. I don't want to just be doing this." And he basically sold all of them out. And the other clones were sticking up for their brothers. Just like, wait a minute, this is unthinkable. It's like, I'm always fighting for my brothers. There's no way, any of us would ever sell us out. And then they find out that, it was actually one of the troop commanders that had sold them out. And I was just like, oh, that shit was good.
Right,
It was really good.
Right, and then they even had that one episode where like Order 66 went off prematurely, and then they found out about those chips. I was just like there was just all the various stuff that they explored where it's just like you could actually keep a show like this going on forever, because it's like if you get action figures of basically everybody that's ever been in Star Wars, you can always tell stories about all these other various side characters, and don't even have to talk about the Jedi or Sith.
Speaking of side characters, I think the ones that also got really good benefit from this were a lot of the lesser known, Jedi Knights that we only kind of saw in passing in the movies, but we get to see more of in the Clone Wars. Like, so I'm talking like Kit Fisto, Luminara Unduli, even Adigalia.
Quinlan Voss.
Well, the
Quinlan
Quinlan Voss.
Voss,
Didn't they have an episode with Master Rancessus, the snake-like
Yes.
Jedi?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, it was just like they had all sorts of this different stuff that they explored. Now, the one episode that I really, really, really liked was the Padawan episode when they took them to Ilum to build their lightsabers or to get their crystals, rather.
Yeah.
They had the Wookiee Padawan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka basically, when they got captured, Ahsoka led them into a revolt from their captors. That was the one, wasn't it?
No. Yoda took them to Ilum so they could
No,
get
but
their
there
lightsaber
was,
crystals.
but there was one where I guess this must be a different episode, because there was one where Ahsoka and the other Padawans and even the Wookiee Padawan had gotten captured by someone, and Ahsoka had to basically rally them.
Yeah, that was later on. I'm talking about the episode where Yoda was basically training them because they figured that they were trapped, and it's like, dude, Yoda just told you what you think you needed to know. You need to think a little bit beyond what he said. And, thought they were trapped behind that wall of ice. And it's like, but it's ice.
Right.
It melts. It was just like the little stuff like that. Like, that's where I appreciate Yoda because I'm older now.
Right.
Back then as a kid, if I would have saw that as a kid, I would have hated that episode. Like, I know I would have. It was like, this is stupid.
Speaking
this is
of,
boring.
I love that was part of Jedi Fallen Order in the game. That Ilum was a stage. I love
yeah.
that. I thought that was great.
Yep,
to
that's
play that
now
game.
King to King brings up a really good one.
What's that?
Cad Bane. Cad Bane as a character and Hondo. I like both of those characters, man, out of Clone Wars.
Cad Bane, Hondo, and what was the other bounty hunter, the female one?
The one that
Aura Singh. That's what I'm thinking of.
that's the one that Beckett pushed. I thought that was hilarious though, because I was watching Solo earlier this week, and you hear Lando go like, "Oh, you were the one that killed Aura Singh." And I was like, "Who the heck is Aura Singh?" So I had to look it up. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Yeah, she kind of just." I kind of just pushed her off the cliff. I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?"
Because she even showed up in Phantom Menace, if I remember correct.
Yeah, she did.
Like a real quick
It
thing.
was very quick.
And then I think they brought her back for the special edition of A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
oh no, Return of the Jedi, because she was in Jabba's palace, I think. Something like I don't remember. It was they put a whole bunch of people just in there.
Yeah, they did.
Just to
Yeah, they did.
I think they put somebody that looks like her in job because she would have
Yeah.
had to been dead by then.
So like,
Yeah, because didn't she get sacrificed to the thingy or something like
No,
that?
not her. What you call it?
or Sing's got like white skin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she
Oh, no, okay,
supposedly
never
got
mind.
killed well before that because in Solo she was dead already.
Mhm.
So
Oh, so okay, maybe she just showed him Phantom Menace on the mountain for half a second.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So like the early seasons of Clone Wars, like we said, were kind of uneven. But towards the end, before Cartoon Network canceled it, they canceled it with season 5 at the end of season
yeah, I
5.
think
So season 4,
Mm.
before that, and then season 5, that was where it started to get really good. Like so, the earlier episodes of Clone Wars, I felt like had really bright moments. Like we already talked about some of the lightsaber battles they had in there, but like you said, the clones were great standout points of the series. And then, like I touched on, some of the Jedi that actually got to stand out and get their shining light, whereas before they weren't really able to do that. But talk about, kind of how the writing kind of started to change with season 4 and going into season 5, where the Clone Wars had kind of really gotten into the height of what it was going to end up being as a show.
Well, I think the writing improved a lot, like you said, getting into the later seasons, mainly because they started to have to get to the point where it's like, okay, you got to show that Anakin is conflicted and why. You can't
Right.
just like, okay, we're sitting here in this lovely spot in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith,
Mhm.
and it's like, no, eventually you're gonna have to push forward to what we all know is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So them going to that Force Nexus, I thought was
Yes.
actually really interesting, and just to
Mhm.
show like the dark side brother, the light side sister, and then the guy that's just basically the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was actually really interesting, and
Yeah.
a lot of it. And again, the younger kid me would have thought like, okay, this is kind of annoying. But
Right.
the older, more wiser me, it's like, okay, I understand the philosophy behind the story they're telling, and it made sense, and it was cool. And I like the callback even in Rebels when they had, I think Ahsoka walking that path, and she could see
Mm-hmm.
Anakin at that moment,
Yeah.
from Clone Wars. So I love how they did that sort of thing.
Right.
That was that long game writing style that
Mhm.
really started to come up in the
pays
later
off.
seasons.
Yeah.
The later seasons versus, it's like, okay, is this going to work? How long are we going to be able to do this? Let's just write as many episodes out as we can. Now
Mhm.
it's like, nope, you got seasons coming. Oh, yeah, cool. We can tell this long story.
Mhm.
Because even when they going into Rebels with the Bendu and all the
Mhm.
various just all this the Force lore and stuff that they brought into it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And Yoda going to Korriban in that one episode.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, it's like whoever thought you'd see Darth Bane manifested in any
Right.
actual stuff outside of the books, and
Now-
yet he was there. I was like, sweet.
All right, guys. So let's talk about also someone that kind of featured very prominently in season 4. Not just Savage Opress, but Asajj Ventress. She started in like we said, the Cartoon Network shorts, that
Mhm.
Gennady Tartakovsky thing, and it's a shame that those were kind of purged from being canon, because like you said, there was a lot of really good stuff. I'll never forget when Ventress first showed up, even as Dooku's she basically just Dooku found her. And in her fighting style and how aggressive she was, impressed upon him, was like, "Hey, you know what? I found something in you. I think I'm gonna take you under my wing."
Right.
And then when he sent her, basically after Anakin, while he was on his Padawan trail to going through his Jedi Knight Ascension ceremony, basically, and that fight that they had in that temple ground,
Yep.
like, 'cause it's like, okay, you say it's not canon, but she was the one that gave him his scar. Like in that
Right.
fight, she was the one that gave it to him.
There's all sorts of stuff that it's just like,
Right.
It's like, okay, you're saying that,
It's not canon,
Yeah.
but
but
it has to be.
it has to be.
It
right.
feels like it's canon.
it has to be, right?
But no, what I really enjoyed with that, actually, he didn't get his scar from her.
He did.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
Because if you go back and watch that, because I've done it recently, because somebody asked me to remaster the video I did of that a long time ago. When he comes back from one of the missions, Padme notices that he has the scar. It's at the beginning of one of the early season 2 episodes.
Which Clone Wars are you talking about?
The animated one, not the
the 2003 one.
yeah. Because
I
she
could have sworn she gave it to him.
She notices that he has the scar after just one of the missions he came back from, because that fight occurs later in that season. But one of the things that I did like in that fight that they did have was
it wasn't in the show, but in the book she actually did give it to him.
No, I know from the books, but I'm talking about from what you see in that show.
You're right. Okay, all right. So I got it mixed up, but she did give it to him, but it just wasn't in the show. Yeah, it wasn't in the show.
But what I did like from that fight, though, going back to that, I loved how they were demonstrating all the various weird, crazy stuff that you can do with the Force. Like she was throwing like Force blasts at him, and he was just like pushing through them and just coming after. It was just like that stuff was cool.
His stuff was great. Like his stuff as action director. This guy.
That's why I like what he did in Iron Man 2.
What he did in Iron Man 2, but not only that, like this is the guy behind Dexter's Laboratory. You wouldn't think that he would be behind this great Star Wars series. Then moving from that to doing Samurai Jack, and as great as a series that was. So them kind of tossing him out was kind of tossing that stuff out. I think it was a really kind of short-sighted travesty. I really wish they didn't do that.
They could have used him for a lot of the choreography and that sort of thing, but maybe that's
in even this Clone Wars series.
But maybe that's not where his priorities are. Maybe he wanted to do his own stuff, and that's understandable.
Right, absolutely. But back to Asajj Ventress, just as a character, like in season 4, you see her kind of really. Was it season 4 or season 3 where she kind of really started to embrace her Night Sister heritage?
I think that was starting in 4.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
so she was really starting to embrace her Night
series.
Sister heritage, and this was the first time that we really even were exposed to the Night Sisters of Dathomir. We had heard about Dathomir as a planet before, but never really explored the lore.
Right.
And even saying that the Zabraks were who Maul is and his brother Savage Opress are, they came from Dathomir. So that connection that all of these Sith apprentices have from with each other, that they all came from the same planet, but the Night Sisters are the dominant species on Dathomir. So speak to Asajj Ventress, her journey and her as a character.
I mean, again, as everybody should know by now, Ventress is actually supposed to have been Darth Maul's character in Phantom Menace. That was the original plan. So obviously that didn't happen.
I'm glad it didn't happen, because if she had died in Phantom Menace, I think I would have been really disappointed.
Well, I don't even know if they could have got it right back then.
True.
Ray Park was was a perfect choice for Darth Maul. Darth Maul was a perfect character for that moment. But moving into Clone Wars, of course, I like seeing characters go through changes that actually make sense for the character. Because it was literally, like you said, she was recruited in the Clone Wars animated by Dooku to essentially be like, almost like an apprentice, essentially. And the funny, odd thing is, I think in the Clone Wars animated, Sidious accepted her being there. And then in the Clone Wars CG, he kind of didn't like this. Like, dude, we going behind my back. Like, hold on, dog.
Yeah.
It's like, it ain't your time yet. You are not about to take over and become the new, head Sith.
Right.
But I like how they went through the whole change of her, obviously being just basically a tool to, be used by the Sith. And then eventually it was just like, okay, you just threw me off to the side.
Right.
And hell no.
Right.
And
Fuck
she
you.
And she comes back and is fighting against them. So I like when characters can go through those transitions, and it's not just the standard, the good guy and bad guy have to team up. It's like, no, she has an actual reason why she's changed, not completely changed sides, but at least, has a grudge against Sidious and Dooku. So I thought that was actually pretty cool.
I thought that was pretty cool. And I always loved the interactions between her and Obi-Wan, because it was like there's almost this small little flirtation that they had with each other back and forth. I thought that was really cool.
That's because Obi-Wan, like Dido said, man, Obi-Wan be getting down. Obi-Wan be just
taking limbs.
Right.
And try to play like you don't.
Right.
Everyone probably got girlfriends on every planet, man.
So speaking of, like we said, some of the side characters that we talked about, Fallen and Dido, talk about, the resurrected Darth Maul and his brother Savage Opress. What were your impressions of them as characters when they came in?
Well, Darth Maul was very dynamic, because he comes off as one-dimensional in episode 1, of course. He doesn't talk. I mean, talk.
couple of lines.
Yeah.
That's it.
But
Oh,
he's
yeah,
just
like a
there
couple
to
lines, that's
basically-
it.
Was that Sam Witwer too?
No,
No.
that was
Okay.
a different actor.
Okay.
For his voice back then. I forgot
Okay.
exactly
And
who it was.
definitely. But
Okay.
he just comes off. But then you got many different kinds of Mauls. You got Maul when he first gets found and his horns all crazy and he just gets his robot. He's fucking crazy.
Yeah, he was completely like savage and
savage and crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He regains his composure. He knows exactly what he wants to do. Tries to take over. He did take over Mandalore with the help of his brother.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that just starts going on. So he becomes a lot more dynamic character, which I think is kind of cool. Which makes him like, I don't want to say my favorite. I don't know what word I would use, but I really like Darth Maul and his progression from the beginning, from what you see to his end, just the way it changed. And then you see that he becomes like a head of crime mobs, like
Right,
I'm
the
just like,
Crimson Sun.
I want to see more of that.
I do
going
too.
now.
Like when they teased that at the end of Solo, I was
Yeah.
super excited because it was like, wait a minute, Maul's still alive. Well, we knew Maul was still alive because he hadn't died, by the time Rebels came along yet.
Yeah.
But still, just say he was behind Crimson Dawn, and he was working with Kira, and Kira
Crimson
just stranded
Sun.
Han. So,
It's
Crimson
Crimson
Dawn.
Sun.
I thought it was
Sun.
Crimson
Crimson
Sun.
You said
Okay.
you said Crimson Dawn.
Okay.
It's Crimson Sun.
Yeah.
But being the head of this crime organization, it was like, how do you get there? And like, you kind of wanted to see more of that in a Solo sequel, which I feel like we'll never get, unfortunately, because there's a lot of. I digress. We go down that road another time, I guess.
Yeah.
But Maul as a character, I thought was
No, it's
like
Crimson
you said,
Dawn, not Sun.
I thought it was Crimson Dawn.
Yeah.
So I thought it was right. I thought it was right. Hey, get it right sometimes, get it wrong sometimes.
I don't know.
But
That was
but no, Savage Opress as a character, I didn't like him at first. I thought I even did the eye roll when they resurrected Maul, and I was like, really, you're gonna do this? Like, how are they gonna explain that he's still alive? And just even the explanation of how he was still alive after all these years didn't really sit right with me.
Why?
But I don't know. It's just
Well-
just saying that like he got chopped in half and he was able to sustain himself just because he had so much hate. What?
That's
the
been done
Force.
before though. Like I
Yeah,
think
I don't know. I just
wasn't
didn't
it?
like it.
I forget which character, but like one of the characters from Coder was like that. Like it was like something. I can't remember which one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was Revan. I just know his name is thrown around a lot. But I know there's this thing to where
You're talking about
If-
the
Darth Crate?
yeah.
uh,
No, not
it
Darth
might
Crate.
have been.
No,
It
it's
might
not
have
Darth
been.
Crate.
Like I
It was
said, I can't.
It was Darth Sion. Darth Sion
Right.
Darth Sion was the Lord of Pain, and he
Yeah.
kept himself.
Yeah.
He actually held himself together out of his hatred and anger. So that's
Right.
what I'm saying. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities.
Right.
Some
So
might
like
seem
it's possible. Like
unnatural.
if we're trying to think about it from our frame of reference, where like, dude, he got cut in half, he shouldn't be. Well, it's
Right.
like, hey, we don't know like the extent the Force users are like able to use. I mean, it's like regardless of what you feel about like the sequel trilogy or whatever the case may be, there's a lot of things about the Force that we are still discovering.
Yep.
So there's just way too many things that Force related can just lead to a whole lot of shit. It's just like even with Rebels, like the whole thing with the thing in the last season where it was just like this whole this pathway to different timelines and all this other
Mhm.
shit
Yeah.
and all that. It's just like there's so many more things about the Force that we just honestly really don't know. So
Sure.
regardless of whatever happens, we can't put the shit past anything as far as what characters can and can't do. That's why I think it's kind of like a pointless argument when people get to like, oh, she couldn't do this or he couldn't do that, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, we don't know what the Force is capable of at this point. Like,
and I think a lot of that comes from. I think a lot of people, and we're going back again to the Disney purge of the EU stuff, where a lot of the lore
definitely.
was established in those books, and Disney was like, they had a very solid reason for doing that. They were like, for number one, we don't want to be tied to this stuff. Like, if there's stuff that we want to change, we should have the wherewithal or the ability to change stuff that we felt like does not necessarily make any sense. Yes, were there some great casualties that were tossed aside when they got rid of the EU? Yes, Mara Jade is one of them. Yes, the Yuzan Vong as a villain group was another one of them. But think about the other things that would have come about that if they hadn't done that. Sure, we would have had the Solo twins, Jason and Jaina, and Ben Solo. We would have had all of them still, but we also would have had Chewbacca being dead.
Well, we still got our Ben Solo, sort of, kind of, listed a little bit. But
he was kind of a cheap knockoff, but whatever.
A cheap knockoff.
Yeah.
That's fine.
He was a cheap knockoff.
My thing is this: I just spent $4 billion.
Right.
I am not trying to spend any more
Exactly.
to hunt down all of these various storytellers and their creations
and pay them royalties.
Right. They ain't getting nothing.
They ain't getting none of that.
I just spent $4 billion. I ain't paying nobody else nothing else right now.
Right. I own this shit.
Right. This is mine.
Right.
So that's I have zero problems with them doing that.
I have zero problems with it too.
Right.
Because, never mind that a lot of that shit was messy.
Oh, hell yeah.
A lot of that shit was messy and very loosely kept together.
Right. And they pulled out what was important. They pulled out Thrawn and used him in Rebels.
Sure
which
did.
Is freaking awesome.
Yep.
They pulled out, like you said, a little bit of a sort of kind of Ben Solo.
Right.
And it wasn't exactly the same Ben Solo that we expected. But I mean, whatever.
Yeah, because people are crying that they're not going to get prime Luke Skywalker adventures. They're not going to get Luke, Han, and Leia being together and raising these Jedi kids. You were never going to get that anyway.
Well, not only that, you weren't going to get it. Like, you really want them to recast Luke Skywalker?
Exactly. Or Han Solo or Princess Leia.
That's the only way that's going to happen.
Exactly. Right. Because it's like
because we damn sure not about to watch a Star Wars with just like CGI recreations. Like
that wasn't gonna fly.
So again, I love all of the crazy Dark Empire stuff. I love all of the Legends.
Loved it too.
I love the Legends Luke stuff, but it's like Mark Hamill is in his 60s now, or maybe
by the time Disney bought it, was 20 years too late.
70.
He's pushing 70 now. So it's like, and that's the only thing out of Rian Johnson's Star Wars that I like that he did. He literally had Luke sit down with her and say, "What do you expect me to do? Go out and face the entire First Order with a
laser sword,
but whatever."
Yeah,
and it's like this is not going to go the way you think.
Exactly.
It's just like
that was a direct shot at all the fans.
And I had no problems with that part of it because it's like come on, you guys are asking for some of the most ridiculous stuff.
You're right, absolutely.
Now here's what I would have liked to have seen. As a swerve, I would have liked to have Luke to have actually been there instead of being a hologram or a force projection. Yeah. I would have loved to have seen him just like they're blasting and just shooting, and then
that would have been.
And then what's his name says, hey, that's enough, and you just see all the smoke clear, and Luke is holding back all those blaster bolts and all that fire. That would have been amazing.
That would have been an amazing flex.
That would have been like that would have back to what we were talking about with Empire Strikes Back. Okay, you held back one blaster bolt. That's cute. How about an entire bombardment
from all these damn AT troopers and
everything? Just walked out of it, let them all just collide and hit out of it like, dude.
Yeah. That would have been a boss move.
If they would have did that would have been freaking amazing.
Yeah, that would have been
a boss
move. Because they could have ended that fight with him holding off everybody and him, and Kylo Ren being absolutely so mad and stuff like that, and Luke could have still said that he's like, "I would not be the last Jedi," and literally just faded into the Force right after that.
Right.
That
Something
would have been awesome.
Yeah, that if they would have gave me that, I would have forgave that movie for everything else that happened. I would have been cool with that if they would have literally had him show up, like he did, and hold all that off and step out of it and just still, man. Go ahead, Fallen.
But on the same token, as fans, we would have expected that. So apparently, how they did it was a swerve.
I know. Again, I get that. But if they would have did that. That would have been.
That would have like just had everybody just really like all the people that talk shit about the movie after the fact or whatever, like regardless of whatever else happened in that movie, that alone would have had everybody by the balls.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think they still would have been, mad about the other shit, but
they're still gonna be mad. But like, if they would have, had Luke go out like that, there wouldn't have been nothing else they would have had to say.
Oh, they would have still bitched and moaned because they were like, well, why couldn't we get that? With Luke being the hero, I'm like, dude, don't y'all get it?
Right.
He's too old. He can't do this stuff.
Right.
Anyway,
we're gonna move to Power is Yours in a second, but I want to hit this last one. Gerald Boney said, well, they own it, so they can pick and choose what they want to keep. So they could have had the twins. The other stuff you mentioned also kept Chewie alive, and that's true. But I think what the problem is when you start keeping too much of it, people expect it to be the exact same stories they've already read, and that's when you get into that whole like, okay, well now you're beholden to what's already been written because so many people. It's like, no,
exactly. Disney wanted to have
that
creative
slate.
license.
Yeah, wipe that slate clean.
Wipe the slate clean. Yeah, Disney wanted to have creative license. All right, you know what? We're way over. We're gonna go to the power is yours and kind of continue the segment in there.
Yep.
The power is yours!
So we weren't quite done with the Clone Wars discussion because we didn't really get to talk about Season 5. And Season 5 is where I felt like probably narratively it had its best stories because we were starting to come up to the height of Anakin starting to really get frustrated with the Jedi. We had Ahsoka being framed by her best friend, Barriss Offee, and being framed for murder, and then just seeing the Jedi Council unilaterally just turn their back, didn't even try and give her the benefit of the doubt. Just said, "Oh no, we have this evidence. You're guilty. We don't care what you said. We don't care that you fought for us for years as a commander on the front line of the Clone Wars. We're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. We're just going to kick you out." And Anakin was like, "The fuck, y'all? What are you doing?"
Right. And I think,
go ahead.
and I think that more so than the prequels in general, just really made you just really just had the side eye about the Jedi Order in general.
Exactly.
It's like, dude, like, how do y'all just really just turn y'all back on one of y'all's like top commanders like that? And it's just like, dude, and it's like, and that, I mean, that's just one of the reasons why I just became a fan of Ahsoka, because it was like, after it was all said and done, it was like, no, I ain't coming back. Like, y'all got this.
Yep.
Like,
right. What I thought was cool about that is like it tied in back to what Sidious told Anakin at that opera. It's like, and not at the opera, he told him at the when he basically was right about to turn him, just before he was going to turn him, and it kind of outed himself. He told him, you know, you have to be able to look at both sides and not just follow the dogmatic, narrow view of the Jedi. And that literally showed just how dogmatic and narrow viewed they were. It's like, all of y'all came down on her and literally turned, like you said, turned your back on her and didn't even follow through all the. It's like it took Anakin, the most hot-headed out of all of you, to like, well, hold on, something's
to believe
wrong.
in her and never give up on her. Like Obi-Wan gave up, Mace Windu gave up, Yoda gave up, all of them gave up.
And then here's the worst part, and I think what she would have been cool if they would have apologized, because they all kind of held it up like, well, yeah, you know.
Especially even
circumstances.
Especially the dude that brought her to the fucking temple.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It was like that episode. I remember watching that. It's just
this
like,
was great. It was great.
It was really well done.
It was great.
It's like, dude, y'all are some assholes,
right?
Man.
Exactly. That's why it's just like we're just at this point where it's just like, dude, it's like, all right. It kind of sucked what happened to y'all, like after the fact, like when they went on to did Order 66.
Oh, hell no, it wasn't.
But on the same token, but it's like on the same token, like y'all kind of had that shit coming. Like,
DBO King
like,
absolutely 100% right. Jedi are evil.
Yeah,
they are. Here's the thing, and a lot of people don't want to admit this. The way the Jedi think, the way the Jedi present themselves, is very much. You know, I'm sorry, not Yoda. And Obi-Wan said this, that only a Sith deals in absolutes. What is the first thing that Yoda told Luke after he brought the X-Wing out of the swamp? No, not the too old. He said, I'm sorry, not the first thing, but he said, do not, it's like there is no try.
Right.
So he literally is just dealing in a true absolute. There is like, it's either this or that. So the Jedi are just as absolute as what they claim the Sith are. And if you look at the Sith has nothing but choice.
Right.
Constant choice.
You know what's interesting? Like, now that I think about it, it's like the Jedi Order kind of reminded me of like the Holy Knights of the last the Crusades.
Yeah.
If you really think about it. And it's just like, you guys are supposedly doing all this for like the just cause, but it's just like at the same time, it's like you guys aren't really changing anything. Like, it's like you guys, if anything, like you guys are damn near making it worse by in some ways or another, especially like if you kind of they're holding themselves to this standard or whatever. It's like it's like Jedi Order damn near like almost like a mirror image of the fucking Roman Catholic Church.
Right.
If you really think about it, it's just like wow.
Exactly. And bringing back to your point, what you said about Ahsoka, basically leaving the order and was just like, you know what, y'all didn't believe in me. My faith in you is completely shaken because you didn't believe in me when I needed you the most. Like, so why would I come back to the order, even though you're giving me basically not even an apology, and then you're saying, oh well, we're gonna restore your status, and you're kind of probably ready to be a Jedi Knight. She's like, I'm good with that.
It's like
I'm
shit.
straight.
Like no, y'all got
Yeah,
that.
she's like, I'm straight. No, I don't want to be. I don't want to be tied to some dudes that didn't even want to give me the benefit of the doubt when I told y'all straight up I didn't do this. And especially after all the blood and the tears and everything that I've done for you over years on the front lines of this war. This is how you gonna repay me? No, I'm straight.
That's one thing I don't quite
I'm
understand
straight.
about them. You watch all the Star Wars and people have premonitions and visions and blah 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 blah. And somebody in the Star Wars says, trust your feelings, look inside, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Why didn't they all sit down and freaking, meditate on
Right.
what's happening?
They treated it like it was a regular court case.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's like, wait a minute.
See, and that's that weird thing with the Jedi. It's like this whole thing where they're supposed to be in tune with this, but it's like on the other half, we're like, oh, we're supposed to remove any emotional attachments and all this other shit. And it's like, dude, like you guys are kind of contradicting yourselves in this one, because like honestly, if you guys like were more like in tune with what was going on and really felt with that, whatever, you guys would have believed her from jump. And it's like it's just like they are definitely were working against themselves in a way. And
Yeah.
I guess that's the genius thing about Sidious, because he saw that from a mile away and played them all like fucking fiddles.
Yeah.
So
and, because like John P. actually brings up a very good point in an allegory about the Jedi. He was like, it reminds me of the plot for Doctor Strange and the Ancient One, basically using the dark power for herself and her own selfish needs. The Jedi are the ultimate, do as I say, not as I do type dudes, right?
Oh,
Real
yeah.
light, because it's like, okay, hey, we're supposed to be about this, but yeah, we'll bend the rules if it kind of benefits, what we want to do. Even though we told you you're not supposed to do this, but we're gonna go ahead and do that. Like what? Like what are you talking about? Like literally, what are you talking about? And that's why when Luke said in The Last Jedi that the Jedi need to die, he was right. He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
The whole concept of the Jedi Order just needed to die. It needed to disappear. It needed to evolve into something else, something more along the lines of what is established as the Gray Jedi. Not necessarily thinking about even everything is always completely good and nothing is ever completely bad. There's always a gray area in the middle.
Well, like
Right.
okay, for example,
a balance.
A
So
true
a
balance.
true balance,
A
but
true
like-
balance, right.
like let's go ahead and look at the Jedi and their long list of transgressions.
Yeah.
First off, they kidnap children, basically.
Yes.
Because you notice they always say this. They talk about like they identify force sensitives, and they basically
very
go
young
and just
age.
and they
They
basically just go
pluck
get
them away from their family.
They don't ask the family.
Right.
They go in there, wave them off, and you take the kid.
They
It's
say,
like,
hey, he's a force sensitive. He needs to come be a Jedi. He can never return to your family. Huh?
right? It's
What?
like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like the Empire was getting kids as stormtroopers. The Jedi was doing the same thing with their Padawans.
Oh, and I'm gonna take this kid, and I ain't gonna pay you for it either.
Well, there's always that.
I mean, you ain't gonna get no Republic credits, nothing.
I'm trying to wonder where the Jedi actually got money.
Right.
I guess they got a stipend from
It's
the
like
Republic or something.
it's like I guess like what Handel Omega said.
And
it's
the niggas like they
technically-
ask families.
it's
Who
like,
cares? You
they
asking families,
do-
you're basically taking their kid
They
away.
do, but they're kind of like inferring the fact that he has to come with us though.
Right, like you really
you
don't
have
have
no
don't-
choice. You
don't
ain't
have,
got no
a
choice.
Like okay, even look at Qui-Gon getting Anakin.
Yeah.
He cheated
To get him for free.
Yeah, he cheated
Yeah.
to get him as part of the bargain. Because originally he had asked, the boy and his mother is like, no, race or pod is worth a slave and two slaves or whatever. And then you literally get to that situation where it's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go for the boy. It's like, no, we're gonna let Chance decide. And he throws a little Chance cube, and he over here manipulating it, making sure it lands a particular way. And it's just like, that's crazy. And then
Do what? Oh,
And then you get to the situation where it's just like, okay, so we got the chance cube thing, and you basically stole Anakin because you wanted to. You didn't
Right.
really, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just like, oh yeah, go say bye to your mom.
Right.
Next time you'll see her, she's gonna be dead. I'm
It's
like,
like, hey man, I
what the
won you.
hell?
It's like basically he said, oh man, this Anakin kid, he's way too powerful. I gotta have him on my team. Like, let me go ahead.
Right.
Let me go ahead and
what's-
cheat and get this
At
this
least
kid on my
the
squad.
Sith,
And-
you can get a choice.
Yeah.
Right. And even in that same breath, it's just like what you were saying, like when that whole situation happened with his mom in Attack of the Clones, it's like first of all, with him feeling the way that he did and all that or whatever, like like Obi-Wan above anybody else should have sensed there was something going on with him, that he had that much emotional turmoil going on with him. And it's just like that was something that never really was handled.
No, you're right.
And
Well, Obi-Wan
and-
got thrust with Anakin, the job of training Anakin.
Yeah, he
that
didn't
was,
want
that
it.
was that was a death. That was a
Well,
death
yeah.
fulfillment
Right.
basically.
His master
Right.
made him promise. He was like, "Psh," and Obi-Wan was like, dude, I don't want to be stuck with this damn kid. What are you doing? It's like, I don't want to train this guy. It's like, but because you're going to go ahead and die on me, yeah, I guess I got to do it. You're going to
Right.
make me do it.
And of Omega, I
Fine.
don't know what you're trying. I don't know what you're trying to imply.
Right.
Again, he rescued a slave boy from slavery. First off, he cheated in order to get him.
Right.
If he would have let chance take its, if he would have literally just like chance. If it's gonna be left to chance, leave it to chance,
Mhm.
and you got to manipulate the cube to make sure that Anakin is the one. It's like, okay, that
Right.
was-
If he was really meant to be with him, destiny would
Right.
have made it be that way.
exactly. Yeah,
So-
deathbed oath, like King Takim said,
Right.
and then they burned him
Right.
on a
Yeah.
freaking-
But anyway, we're getting away from the Clone Wars. Like I was saying, so getting back to season
Well, no,
5.
the power is there. You talk about whatever they want to talk
I
about.
get it. I get it. But but we kind of like went on a tangent, but we didn't really finish the retrospective on Clone Wars because we even talk about kind of the lost episodes. It was of season 6, and I think even some of those episodes were more exploratory. I think the one standout episode I think in there was when Yoda went to learn about the secrets to basically learning how to return from from the Force when you pass into it.
Mhm.
Basically keep your consciousness that he learned from Qui-Gon.
Right.
I think that was a standout episode, and those ones were kind of weird because you never really got to see. You didn't really get to see like any of the main characters. Ahsoka wasn't in it at all, who by this point had become such an important central figure in Clone Wars itself. It was kind of weird not to see her in those episodes, because the season 6 was like all of 6 or 8 episodes.
Yeah, that was like the lost season. Or
Yeah,
something, wasn't
yeah. So it was like 6 or 8 episodes, and it didn't really touch on a lot of stuff, and they weren't really all that good when you think about it. But when you get to season 7, season 7 went back to touched on all the on the stuff that made Clone Wars good. You had the Bad Batch of clones, which I think was pretty freaking cool. That whole thing. Especially the one clone that was basically a Rambo allegory. He had the red bandana and everything, dude.
right.
And then the notion of fives came up again because they were starting to talk about the inhibitor chip and everything like that, and kind of the stuff that was going on with that. But then you get into this weird side quest with Ahsoka and the Martez sisters. First of all, in a galaxy far, far away, what are the odds that you're going to have a Latino sounding last name for a pair of sisters?
Why not?
I was just with the Martez sisters.
It's a galaxy far, far away.
Man,
where does
come on
Lando get
now.
his product for his hair?
Somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. But
I'm
still,
serious.
the
I mean, like,
Martez
come on now.
sisters, man, come on, dude.
Lando's hair was
Hey,
laid exactly right
some-
now. He had product.
Hey,
now.
some names got to survive like after a while or whatever. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like,
I
some of the
guess.
culture is still there, G.
But still, just showing Ahsoka's full breakaway from not even wanting to acknowledge that she was even a part of the Jedi Order. Like, she was that disillusioned with them. She didn't want to use the Force. She didn't want. I mean, she reluctantly used it when she had to use it, but she didn't want to say, "Hey, I'm a former Padawan," all this other kind of stuff. I just, I had this break with the Jedi, and I was disillusioned with them. She was just like, "Man, I just want to find myself, and I just want to get away," And
Right.
the whole thing with the Martez sisters, I think was, it had its moments. Like, I wanted her to kill Trace. Trace is nothing but trouble, dude. And like, for real, I was like, dude, can you just bump this sister off and just get her out of the way? Like, cause she's nothing.
You talking
but
about the
trouble.
older sister,
Yeah,
right?
the older sister. I just get her out of the way because she is no good whatsoever. But then to hear the story of how the sisters were orphaned, basically going back to showcasing again that the Jedi are not nearly as good as they think they are. That this accident involving a Jedi, you have a Jedi show up and just say, "I'm sorry for your loss," and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? It's like, I caused this. I caused you lose your parents, but I'm sorry this happened to you. The Force will be with you always. Peace out. It was just done.
That's how they were.
That's how they roll.
Hand of Omega out of the chat is saying he forgot to mention, funny that the silliest show DC put out, Batman Brave and the Bold, gave us the most hardcore depiction of Darkseid ever.
Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, Michael Leon Willie.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never watched enough of it to really know what happened.
It was an
in that
okay
series,
show. It had its moments.
Other than I think it was Captain Adam like down talking Batman heavy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Other than that, but he also mentioned the character arc of young Boba Fett.
Young Boba Fett. Yeah, he did.
Okay.
And we didn't touch on that. You're right. And I thought that part was really cool. It was nice to see Boba, kind of figure, because honestly, I thought he was going to disappear after Attack of the Clones. And we still didn't see him necessarily get any of his training to be a warrior of any kind, which I kind of thought we would get a little bit. Like maybe he would even be like a mercenary, even in some of the later episodes of Clone Wars. But then when you think about it, he wasn't even nearly old enough to even be a part of anything like that.
Right. You got to figure, like, how old do you think he was in Empire Strikes Back?
In Empire Strikes Back, after...
Because in Episode 2 takes place, essentially...
Was it 30 years before the Battle of Yavin?
No, because Luke and Leia are born at the end of...
It'd be more 40
Revenge
years.
of the Sith. No.
Yeah.
How?
There's an established timeline. We have to look it up. But basically, I think Boba, by the time Empire Strikes Back comes about...
Okay, hold on. All right, here's the basics. It's Phantom Menace takes place about 10 years before Attack of the Clones, because Anakin is about in his he's probably like late teens or maybe 20. Yeah, maybe 20 or something. And then you move forward in the in the Revenge of the Sith, he only aged maybe like a couple of years, 3 years. So
y'all think the Clone Wars was only 3 years?
It was.
Yeah.
I looked it up before you guys even started doing this because I wanted to see how old Anakin was
Yeah.
at the time of that. He was 23 years old when he became Darth Vader.
Okay.
And then when he died, he was 46. So he was Anakin for half his life and Darth Vader for half his life.
Okay, so 23 years. So the Battle of Yavin
Sounds about
had to
right.
have been. So the Battle of Yavin was probably, like I said, 20 years after Revenge of the Sith. And if we're saying it's 3 years for the Clone Wars, and we knew Boba was what, 12 by the time in Attack of the Clones?
maybe
started?
something like that. Because it depends. Well, hold on.
Roughly.
So 15.
Because
by the
there's
end
a line in Attack of the Clones that Obi-Wan says, or what's his name? I think says the one of the Kaminoan he was talking to, and he tells him when the cloning process started. Essentially, it was started by Master Sifo Dyas, I think 10 years ago. So like basically back in Phantom Menace time, and Sifo Dyas set up that whole thing with a post-dated check. And
right.
I don't think those Kaminoans ever actually got their money.
Right.
Because he had that look. Because it's like, yes, they didn't have any emotion, but like when Obi-Wan told him, it's like Master Sifo Dyas died like about 8-9 years ago. He was like, oh, it's like he had that feeling of like, but he was like supposed to be COD, and he's supposed to be the only person that can sign for it.
Right.
It's like we're not going to get paid. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
He had that little pause in his voice. It was so funny.
Yeah.
But so I think that's your timeline, and I think, like you said, Anakin was 23, and then it's about a 20-year gap or so, somewhere in that range ish.
Yeah.
It's like 19 to 20 years or
So
so.
Bubba was 15 by the end of the Clone Wars, and it's 20 years later. So he's about like 35, 36. When
He'd be in
Empire
his mid
Strikes
30s
Back,
by
Yeah,
Empire.
by
So that sounds about right. So
But the thing is, I think Boba, and it's been so long since I read these books, but I think Boba trained with or ran with Dengar and a couple of other bounty hunters anyway. So his training probably came up in the matter of fact. Hold on, I should just read the freaking
Did they
the
say
bounty
that's
hunter
where?
code.
Is that where he got the his Beskar armor from?
I don't remember, but
Didn't get any Beskar armor. That's why his freaking helmet has a dent in it.
Ah, okay.
Oh, you're saying his official?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
That he stole, basically.
No, I need to. King Takim, you're exactly right. He was unaltered. That's why we're going back to
But
when
I
was
can't
when did the
imagine that
cloning
Django
start?
raised him from a baby, though.
Yeah, he did.
He
He asked for an unaltered clone.
Okay.
So, no, he said no growth, no enhanced growth or any of that. He wanted an completely unaltered, nothing to change him to make him more docile or anything. So that was essentially he wanted a son, like a straight up,
Okay.
cloned, but a straight up son.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was trying to see when that started, because that would be your overall process of
Right.
okay, well, this is about how old Boba should be.
Right.
But what am I call it? Durasteel armor made in the Mandalorian style or Mandalorian fashion. That's
So I
100%
thought they
right.
said he stole it, though. He didn't steal it?
I don't know if it's so much that he stole it, but like you said, the dent is because it's not
True Beskar armor.
Mandalorian armor.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. I have the Bounty Hunter code. I should just read it. Like
Yeah.
it's actually because it's supposed to be written by Boba Fett essentially. So I don't know. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I mean it's different. I mean, we know it's different factions or whatever. So
Oh, yeah.
it's-
Yeah.
So
But
I mean,
seeing young Boba was cool. But even going back to like that last season of Clone Wars, like the last episodes of Clone Wars was some of the best Star Wars anything I've ever seen. Like those last 4 or 5 episodes, I think it was 4 episodes, right? The last 4 episodes of Clone Wars of season 7 was some of the best Star Wars anything I have ever seen. Like we're talking from Ahsoka going back to meeting Obi-Wan and Anakin, and basically like I loved the tension between Obi-Wan and Anakin, especially when he started to get political. She was like, "Man, you fuckers ain't changed at all. Like this is exactly the reason I fucking left. Like y'all doing the same shit, And then especially was like, we come to you for help, and then as soon as Chancellor Palpatine's in trouble, you want to go and forget the reason why the Jedi were supposed to exist in the first place, which is to help people, not to come and save the Chancellor. Like, are you kidding me?
Hey.
And then so basically when Ahsoka left, and the start of the siege of Mandalore, like after she jumped out of the airship without a jetpack at all, she was like, "Hey Rex, I rescued you to the bottom," and I was like, "Oh dude, this is awesome!" Like the whole thing that she did, like when she was descending down, like jumping on ships and basically destroying them on her way down, this shit was dope as hell. Like that was some of the best shit I have ever seen.
It's gonna be interesting to see
Yeah.
how Rosario Dawson does the character.
Agreed.
That's gonna be really cool.
Agreed. And then hearing that Katie Sackhoff is basically going to be Bo-Katan, so obviously Bo-Katan is going to factor into season 2 because I guess that's where Mando took the child with him. It's probably to go hook up with the clan that Bo-Katan is running. So you have to wonder, is Ahsoka hiding out with them? Or, well, actually, no, she wouldn't have to hide anymore.
Who knows?
Right, you wouldn't think she would have to hide anymore. But at this point, would she have resolved herself that yes, I am still the Jedi? I am still a Jedi, or I have become a Jedi? Because even in Rebels, she still hadn't made that distinction. That she was going to basically
I don't think she is.
come back to by the time somewhere between Mandalorian season 2 and when we hear her voice in the Last Skywalker. I mean, not the Last Skywalker, Rise of the Skywalker. At some point, she will have reattuned herself to being a Jedi.
Maybe.
At some point,
I mean, maybe so, but I mean, basically on the route that they were going on, like in Rebels, by that end or whatever, like it wasn't like the thing is a lot. I think at that point, a lot had changed when it comes to what the Jedi or what a Jedi is supposed to stand for by time the whole thing with canon and Ezra and all that or whatever, because like they were definitely like just on some other shit when it comes to being a Jedi, whereas somewhere else. Obi-Wan's watching over Luke, and he still has that old Jedi Order Jedi, mindset going, training Luke. So it's probably that she probably found some way of kind of reattuning herself, like through a Jedi way. It's probably a Jedi way, not the Jedi way, is what I'm saying. So I could see that being a thing, because it's like, honestly, at this point, it's kind of apparent there's no one way to be a Jedi. And that was the Jedi Order's like mistake, because they all want to do it one way. It's only one way to be a Jedi.
Yeah. And I love what some of King Takeem and some of the others are saying in the chat right now. Like, Ahsoka Tano is the Jedi of our nerdy dreams. Like, literally, that's how I feel about Ahsoka after, probably by the end of Rebels season 2. Ahsoka had probably become my favorite Star Wars character ever. Like, and then just even seeing her in Clone Wars at the end of it only further, increased my love for her. Like, I literally think she is the best Star Wars character that's going right now. Like, as far as like new characters to develop stuff for, she's it. Like, she is literally it.
Well, you get Rosario Dawson to play her. You already got my vote.
This is what I'm saying. Like, there's so much you can do with Ahsoka. Like, she is literally the best Star Wars character right now. Like, we're not talking the child, because the child is okay. Yeah, he's cute. That's it. Ahsoka, you get everything. Like, you've got, character development over the course of a number of years. You've seen her in print. You've seen her in cartoon. Now you're going to see her in live action. Like, live action was like the last.
Yeah, finally.
Except for video games. I think in video games, the only other area where we haven't seen Ahsoka like represented at all.
In what?
In a video game.
Yeah, you have.
Like, where? But not talking Lego Star Wars. Like, where?
Talking about the Clone Wars like based video games more.
In the Force Unleashed. What you talking about?
Yeah, I think you fight and kill her in Force Unleashed. No, I'm sorry, you fight the other one.
No, that's Shakti.
Yeah, you kill Shakti.
I was supposed to be like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, they
like, Ahsoka didn't even exist when the Force Unleashed came out.
Look alike.
Yeah. Wow. How racist. Wow, that's so racist. They all look alike. That's crazy. Honestly, though, I think there's room, because Cal Kestis exists, and because he's still going around trying to find other Jedi. I literally think whatever the sequel to Fallen Order is going to be, Ahsoka is going to be in it.
Yeah, that's actually a game. I still have to finish that story.
Oh, dude, it was good. It was somewhat short, but it was still a good game. I still enjoyed it. It was
because like it kind of showed me like where what did they call that the faction with the sisters and the brothers? What did they call that again? Because wasn't like the chick in there? She was
the
like
nicest.
the second...
I mean the second sisters, the Inquisitors, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, the Inquisitors. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like between that, because like I had just like finished watching Rebels, like when I played that game, I'm like, oh shit.
Well, Hand of Omega brings up something, right? Because isn't there a Rebels sequel series where basically Sabine and Ezra are supposed to find? I mean, Sabine and Ahsoka are supposed to be finding Ezra. They haven't done it yet, and we think that the Mandalorian season 2 is going to be continuing that story.
They need to.
You think it might touch on that? Because like
they do, right?
They're going to.
Good.
Well, no. Is that confirmed? Because we've only heard.
I said they claim it.
Yeah, they claim. The rumor is that Sabine is going to be in.
Who's going to play her?
Now that's another one, right? That's another interesting one. That Sabine is going to be in the Mandalorian season 2. Like, because again, you got Bo-Katan, you got the child, you got the Mandalorian himself, and now you got Ahsoka in there. Having Sabine being part of that sees how she is part of one of the clans anyway, and she was a previous holder of the Darksaber, which Maul has.
We need some backstory about how my man got it.
Right, so it makes sense that Ahsoka would actually, that Sabine would actually be in Mandalorian season 2. So like in Mandalorian season 2, I'm not kidding. That's shaping up to be an absolutely epic season. It really is.
No, it can't, because Disney Star Wars is terrible.
Yeah, I know, right? Disney Star Wars is all. It
ruined all of Star Wars.
Disney
it's all ruined.
Star Wars. Fuck that.
Right? No, it's
Fuck
like
that
it
noise.
depends on who's writing it, who's directing it.
Exactly.
That's always the case.
Dude, you guys see how late it is? It's like almost midnight, dude.
It's your fault.
It's my fault. It's great content. What are you talking about? My fault.
Whatever.
It's not my fault.
All of them sleep.
Anyway, so put the camera back on me if you wouldn't mind, please. So we need to go ahead and wrap up the show. We've been on the air for almost 3 hours, but dude, it almost doesn't even feel like 3 hours. Like I'm not kidding. It does not feel like it's even been 3 hours that we've been talking about.
Like I can talk about more right now.
I really could, but we kind of need to draw a line in the draw a line in the sand because some of us actually do have normal day jobs to go to tomorrow, right? Right, Dido?
Yep.
Yeah, I do too. So
Gotta go slaying them drugs.
Yeah, we got to go out and be essential for the rest of us.
That's so freaking funny.
He is a pharmaceutical distributor.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Is the camera back on me yet? Yeah. You sure? Okay. All right. Thank you.
I don't know. I don't see you.
Yeah, we don't see it on our end, but
You're being seen.
We'll trust you.
You're being seen.
We'll
I'm
trust
looking
you.
at
Okay,
it. You're being seen.
All right. So anyway, guys, our camera operator, she's doing a bang up job back there. She really is. She's doing an absolutely fantastic job. We couldn't do this show without her, and we definitely couldn't do this show without all of you guys out there in Junkie Nation. We want to thank you all for hanging in there with us for like 2.5 hours as we've entertained you with all of this Star Wars talk and a bunch of other stuff. Next week we're going to be talking about GQ actually brought up a pretty good topic that he kind of wanted to touch on. You want to talk about it briefly?
Yeah, I think since I'm probably possibly going to be doing a review of Ip Man 4 for next week's, for me it was Tuesday. I think we should talk about some martial arts movies and
we haven't talked
how
about that in a
they
while.
how they have changed and become a little bit different in the 2020s. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. So if you're into martial arts films, and we're gonna talk about old stuff as well as new stuff, of course. But so if you're into martial arts films, make sure you come through for that main event.
Yeah, absolutely. You should definitely come back. Speaking of that, man, dude, you don't watch ESPN, so you wouldn't notice. But dude, an ESPN 30 for 30 on Bruce Lee is coming. It's called Be Water, dude. It's gonna. And those 30 for 30 documentaries are some fantastic stuff. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
I mean, I'll watch that.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm sure you would.
Actually interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. But
I ain't trying to watch nothing about Scottie Pippen.
Yeah,
okay.
Fuck that dude.
Come on,
fuck that
man.
dude. Fuck that dude, man. We don't like that dude around these parts, man. Anyway.
Oh yeah, that's right. Y'all up there in Piston country.
Yeah. You know what is down. Y'all shouldn't like them either. Down in Indiana anyway. So I'm just saying.
Look, I'm in Northwest Indiana. I'm more.
What does that matter? You still a Pacer fan?
He's a
Oh,
Chicago
wow,
fan.
you a Chicago fan? You ain't a Pacer fan? Okay,
Dude.
all right, man.
Dude, come on. Like, this is Northwest Indiana. We're technically still Chicago around.
Yeah.
That's
No,
just
fuck
like,
that guy. Yeah.
Upper UP,
fuck
like
that guy.
the Green Bay, not the Lions, man.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, guys, we had a great time entertaining you. We want to thank you all for joining us today. Make sure you come back next week for episode 213 of Culture Junkies Live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. For my good friends, Fallen Marvel, GQ, and the Great Daddy Kuji, I'm Kenshiro. We will see you guys next week. Have a great one.
Dude.